Welcome in. It's the Arrowhead Addict podcast live from Radio Row at the Super Bowl. Day 2 coverage here. Patrick Allen along with Matt Verderame again. Going to have a longer show for you today. We got some guests stopping by. We're really jacked up about it. You can expect Nick Lowery, famous Chiefs kicker, to be dropping by to talk to us a little bit later. And we're also going to have our guy Matt Connor on, our co-host from the Arrowhead Addict podcast and the editor-in-chief of Arrowhead Addict. Verderame, how you doing today, man? It's day 2. Did you get some sleep last night?
I did. I woke up. I did some work. Then I went over to the media availability for the Chiefs, asked some questions, came back here, ate a really expensive pulled pork sandwich at thank you, FanSided, for company dime.
Yeah.
And here we are. So I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to it.
Things are not cheap at the Super Bowl, even for the media. I just paid $7 for a soda. So there you go. All right, so Verderame, a lot's going on out here. The Chiefs are in town. Last night was Super Bowl opening night at the convention center over here. It's just a wild scene. This was my first time at opening night. Now, I know you've done it before.
Yep.
Massive arena filled with Chiefs and Eagles fans. Mama and Papa Kelsey were there. All the players were there. Andy Reid, they brought the Lombardi trophy out.
Right.
So the way that this works, if you guys didn't catch it on TV last night, the fans are in the arena, the media is down on the floor, and they set up podiums in a big circle. The players and coaches come out, and then some players and coaches walk around for media availability. So first the Eagles came out, and then the Chiefs came out. And I had an observation. I wanted to see what your thoughts were on it, Verderame. When I talked to the Eagles players, everybody was great, nice, by the way, but
sure,
I found the Eagles players to be pretty serious, like not nervous or tight, but like, you know, pretty serious and straightforward and talking about the game. And the Chiefs seemed a lot looser to me, lighthearted, you know, not too nervous, not too high strung. Now everybody's different, but did you notice that?
Yeah, I think Darius Slay was the one guy who was maybe pretty loose for the Eagles. Said his name's Slay. He wasn't responding to Darius. Yeah, I think part of it is the Chiefs have just been here a lot. You know,
right.
I think even for guys who haven't, they're around guys who have been here. So it's like not as big of a deal. I think Frank Clark was having a field day.
Frank.
Throughout the festivities. Chris Jones was having fun. Guys were signing autographs for fans. It was pretty laid back. And even at the availability today, I mean, they were pretty relaxed. They didn't seem tight by any stretch of the imagination. So it'll be really interesting to see how that translates through the course of the week.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier in the week and last week, that maybe one advantage that the Chiefs would have here is the fact that a lot of the players had been here before. This is Andy Reid's, 4th Super Bowl?
Yes.
So a lot of experience on the Chiefs side, not as much on the Eagles side. But again, I don't think that just because the Chiefs are loose and the Eagles seem maybe a little serious or to mean business, I don't think that means like the Eagles are nervous or that, you know, it's going to help one team more over the other. Do you?
No, not really. I mean, I think it's just more of an observation than anything else. You know, the Eagles could be all business and come out and score 40. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. I think it helps the Chiefs that they've been here. They've won. In some ways, maybe it even helps them a little bit that they lost once. Like, they know both sides of that and what that can feel like. And Mahomes has talked a lot about that.
Yeah.
That I've been on both ends of this thing. You know, it's a hell of a lot better to win than it is to lose. I just think it's really interesting the way that the Chiefs have kind of handled this week. I mean, they've not been overly anxious. I mean, they really, you know, they talked about the fact they did their planning all last week. They're not even game planning this week. They're already done with that.
Right.
I thought it was also interesting that they're getting healthier. I was there today. Patrick Mahomes is 5 feet in front of me, and he said his ankle's feeling way better than it was. Everybody's going to practice for them today. Yesterday, they were in pads.
Right.
Pads and pads. That's a rare thing at this time of year. So they seem like they're in pretty good spirits and they're in pretty good shape and getting healthier at the right time.
Yeah, you and I were standing next to each other when L'Jarius Sneed took the podium last night. And if you haven't been catching up on arrowheadaddict.com or you haven't been catching up on Twitter, Verderame got the first question in and asked L'Jarius if he had cleared the concussion protocol. That was breaking news. He said he had yesterday, just that day. I tweeted it out. You tweeted it out. Everybody else tweeted it out really quickly. I think I was first, but you know, when you got 15 media members, 30 media members standing around, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not quite an exclusive, but I'm saying that was our story.
Sure. Yeah, I'll take credit. What the hell? I asked the question. Damn it. I'm just really listen. If they're healthy for this game, I know that they're not the favorite. I think they ought to be. Like, I really do. Now, hell, now if you're agreeing with me, then you ought to maybe say, hey, it's a good place to bet, because what the hell, getting a 1.5 on top of that, getting the odds,
right?
And I know we have a few promos going for that right now, so that's not the worst thing in the world either.
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to arrowheadaddict.com/bets if you want to help out the podcast. We'll read some more specific promos later on, but if you go to arrowheadaddict.com/bets, we've got those great promos over there. You just got to click a link, and you'll be good to go. You can help out the podcast by following one of those links. All right, let's talk a little bit more Chiefs. So last night, Verderame, and of course, we're going to have Nick Lowery stopping by at the half-hour mark of this stream. So make sure, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, leave some comments, share this post, hit that like button if you think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. Let's do that. Let's get some more Chiefs fans in here. We'll be able to answer some questions, but make sure you stay tuned for Nick Lowery here in a few minutes.
That's Super Bowl level showing.
Yeah, you know what? That's right. You gotta you get to the big game, you gotta raise your game, and that's what I'm trying to do here today. So Verderame, any impressions from last night? Anything stand out to you? I know you got to talk to Brett Veach a little bit. Yep. He's been, of course, he's a friend of the show, former guest of the Arrowhead Addict podcast. How did Veach seem?
Calm, relaxed. It was funny, talking to Howie Roseman in the Eagles availability. There were about 15 people around them. I was sitting there talking to Brett Veach. It was like me and like one other person. I mean, he was just chilling out. Pink blazer. Salmon,
he's a stylish guy.
He is a stylish guy, man. Had the salmon blazer, had the wristwatch. I asked him about the rookie corners. I've got a really big story coming out on that tomorrow. That thing's like 2,500 words at the moment. But also, he said, listen, those guys have exceeded expectations. They thought McDuffie would come in and play well and play right away. Did not expect that Williams and Watson would play this well, this quickly. But also just kind of talked about the fact that, look, it's great to be here. Like, this is hard. This is a really hard thing. I asked about him and Roseman. They were together 9 years in Philly, and I have a story on that as well. But he kind of alluded to the fact that, look, it's great to be here, period. I mean, just to get to the Super Bowl is so hard. And you can there's a lot of confidence in this group about the way they feel like they can go out and play this game.
I think maybe it's a little bit similar for people like Brett Veach and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes as it is for us fans. I know I feel a lot different about these last few Super Bowls that the Chiefs have been in than I did that first one. I mean, I was a nervous wreck, really wanted them to get it. Of course, I really want the Chiefs to win. But I think once you've been there,
right?
I think especially for a guy like Brett Veach, he's done his work, right? Sure. Like, and this is sort of a validation of the work that he's done in the offseason and the roster planning that he's been doing over seasons, that he can sit back and say, all right, like, I did my job. I put together a Super Bowl roster capable of getting to the Super Bowl. Obviously, he wants to see him win it. But at this point, if you're Brett Veach, you can't do anything. Can't make any more trades. There's nobody walking around on the street that you're going to pick up and sign. And so you roll into the stadium on Sunday and let the chips fall where they may. Hope the coaches and players get the job done.
I think that's it. I mean, if you're Brett Veach at this point, sitting back and everybody else watching. I mean, obviously, you've got a little more insight maybe than the rest of us, but you're watching.
Right.
There's nothing he can do. I mean, it's just a team he's put together. This is the coaching staff they have. I look, in reality, we're going to break the game down a million ways. But the truth of it is, it's going to come down to who plays better on Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. These teams are here for a reason. There's no fraud in the Super Bowl. There's no fluke.
No.
I mean, you get to this point, it's all about who plays better on that day. And maybe there's tendencies, some things you can look for, and that's why we're here talking about it. But the reality is, it's a game unto itself. We don't know if this is going to be a fallout,
right?
But you don't know that. What if it's a game? What if it's a day where Hurts throws 3 picks? He just doesn't. And maybe they're not even fault. Guy drops the ball, it goes through his hands, and gets picked, or it's tipped at the line of scrimmage. I mean, that stuff happens.
Yeah.
It just does. It's going to be fast to see how the game plays out, and we have another 6 days we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where I think, and we'll talk. You got somebody from Pro Football Focus coming by later today as well. You look at the season and say, "Oh, the Chiefs were good at this. The Eagles, they a lot of sacks and blah 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 blah." But in reality, that doesn't matter on Sunday. Like, throw it all out the window. This is one game. I mean, you can be the greatest sacking team ever, but you can have one game where you don't get any. right? How many times have we seen great run defenses throughout the course of the season? But every now and again, yeah, you get lit up for 250 yards. So it's all about matchups and game plans come Sunday, as far as I'm concerned. Forget about the regular.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, apparently I'm having audio issues.
Oh no.
So keep an eye on. We're gonna figure it out, guys. One guy said both might suck. So that's at least we're in the same boat.
Yeah. All right.
But so I think it's one of these things you don't know. I mean, they had 70 sacks. They may not have one sack. You don't know. I mean, they might have 7. I mean, that's the nature of this stuff. You can all of a sudden have a game where the game goes one way early and it goes, hey, it's going to be a close game, even whatever, and then it's 2 turnovers in the first quarter, and nothing.
Right.
I mean, this is game 7, and we always say it every other sport. It's game 7. Anything's possible. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen. It is game 7. Anything is possible.
Right. Yeah, they got to lay it out on the line. They got to let it all hang out. So last night I was standing, and hopefully the audio issues are as our producer Hunter comes to help us out. I was standing. You got a new mic coming in.
Let's see if it's better. Yeah. So we'll see how things play out.
Yeah. All right. So last night I'm standing waiting to interview Andy Reid, and there's like a countdown clock up there because they're at their media availability for an hour.
Yep.
I'm about to interview Andy Reid, and I feel almost like a hug from behind, two hands on my shoulders. I turn around. What's that?
Police?
It wasn't the police,
No.
thankfully. I think they're around here looking for me somewhere. But 2 hands on my shoulder, and I turn around, and who is it? It's Nicole Hartman. And he's like, hey, excuse me, man. Can I get in there? I want to ask Coach Reid a question. Now, if you've ever been to one of these things, you know that your headliners, they have the most media and cameras around. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
So I was fighting a good fight to get up there, and I was finally next up, about to get him a question. And I ceded my spot to Nicole Hartman. He asked Andy Reid a question. I should have been like, hey, man, you know what? Yeah, you do your job. Yeah. Let me do mine. So I ceded my spot to Nicole, and he asked Andy, hey, do you have any the clips, I think, on Arrowhead Addict? You can check it out, arrowheadaddict.com for the full clip. But he asked Andy, do you have any special tricks up your sleeve? And Andy said, no, going by the book. Like, kind of a wink thing, If you're Andy Reid, what do you pull out?
Things that are going to make Matt Verderame insane.
Blake Bell, little Blake Bell option.
A little short-sided run to the right. Yeah. You know what? I think in this game, honestly, this might be a spot where this Philly is. Maybe you have a reverse in the game. Maybe you have a flea flicker. Now, the flea flicker, you better move it. You better get the ball off. But if I'm them, it's not so much like run a ton of trick plays. It's not my deal. But I would run a lot of jet sweep motion. I'd run a lot of action because whenever you do that, even if you don't have the ball, it creates a half second of what am I looking at? What's happening in front of me? A half second in the NFL is an eternity.
Right.
That is the difference between getting sacked, getting hit, or throwing a touchdown. Like, I think it's a ton of motion. I literally wouldn't run one play and have motion in it. I would try to make them stop and think for a second. Where are they? What are they doing? It's one thing, they don't play the Eagles a lot. I mean, obviously, but when you're in the playoffs, they played the Bengals 4 times in the last 13 months. The Bengals have seen everything the Chiefs do. The Eagles have not seen that. You can watch all the tape you want. It's different person. It's different on the field. I would run a lot of motion, try to make the thing.
Would you be running that? Like, if they are going to do some of those jet sweeps, those types of things, what down do you want to see those on? Because, I mean, that's where, like, with the team against, like, the Eagles, and you don't want to be behind the sticks. You want to be moving forward as much as possible so they can't pin them. Right? Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was interesting, too, on the flip side of the ball. Spags was talking to myself, Palmer of NFL Network last night. He said that their keys, they got to win on first and second down. He's like, we have to get them. He said, because they'll go for it on fourth down at times, too. They're an aggressive team. So the Spags was like, look, we have to win early. That makes me wonder, are they going to be aggressive on first down? Are they going to be aggressive early and try to, obviously, look, any D coordinator wants to have a team at 3rd and 10. That's not breaking news. But if that's really their focus this week, Are they going to try to take away the run on early downs? Are they going to be aggressive in their fronts and say, look, if we get them to 3rd and 10, we feel good? I'm curious to see what that means from Spags and how they approach it.
Yeah, I'm worried about that. If you haven't watched a lot of the Eagles this year, they've been absolutely unstoppable in 3rd and 4th and short situations. They got a quarterback sneak where they just push Jalen Hurts.
They're amazing at it, yeah.
They're really, really good at it.
They're the opposite of the Chiefs in short yardage.
Right. And so what I worry about is, do you think that they, at some point in this game, because they've been doing this all year, these quarterback sneak, it's their signature, they're known for it, that at some point in this game there's going to be a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1, and they're going to go up there and they're going to get in that formation, and then they're going to uncork a deep pass off of it.
They might try, especially if it's 3rd and 1, because then you have 4th and 1 if you need it.
Yeah.
So I always think when you have those short, 2nd and 1s, 3rd and 1s, depending on where you are in the field, you have an opportunity to maybe take a shot.
Yeah.
You say, all right, well, we got another play here, and we only need 3 feet. The Eagles like to go deep. I mean, they're going to look for their opportunities. That's why I said yesterday, I think if you're the Chiefs, you play a lot of too high and just say you're not getting over the top. You're not going to win that way. You're going to have to go 12, 13, 14 plays down the field. I think if you're the Chiefs, you're fine with that. You're fine with forcing that to happen. I'm not saying Philly can't do it, but that's a lot harder than just hitting one deep ball and all of a sudden you're at the 20.
Right. So in those situations now, would you be more apt to, if they get in that 3rd and short, 4th and short situation, if you're the Chiefs defense, just sort of concede the first, I don't want to say give up, but don't go all out trying to stop that and just play it a little bit more safe and maybe try to win on the next set of downs?
Yeah, probably. Especially it depends where you are on the field too. If you're on 30,
yeah.
It's a second quarter, you're up a touchdown. Yeah. I think this entire game defensively with the Chiefs is, in the red zone, they have been much better in the playoffs. Much better.
Right.
They were a mess throughout the regular season, 31st in the league. They're at 50% right now, and it's 3-6. I get it. It's not a huge sample size. I understand all that. But if I'm the Chiefs, I'm feeling at least more confident defensively. I'm feeling like, all right, we have an opportunity here to play a little bit better. I mean, if you look at their regular season numbers in the red zone, it was not something you want to shield the kids' eyes, okay?
Right, family show.
67.3%. 50% would have had them 6th in the NFL. So if they can just keep that up, like if Philly has 4 red zone drives, if you go 2 for 4, that's great.
Right.
That's 20 points. Then you may have a drive or two that scores some points on field goals, but if let's say they have 4 drives in the red zone and 1 field goal without hitting the 20, that's 23 points. Yeah. If you're the Chiefs, you're signing up all day and half the night for them scoring 23 points, right? Yeah. So I think that is going to be the key. 3rd down, of course, Spags talked about it. The Chiefs were 13th. By the way, the Chiefs are better on 3rd down defense than Philly. So they were right back-to-back, but the Chiefs are 0.3 of a point better. So very close in that regard. And if you're wondering, by the way, for Philadelphia's red zone defense, 12th.
Okay.
So, slightly above average.
Yeah. Well, and I'm impressed that they did so well against Cincinnati, because that is a team, when I think about a team I don't want to have to deal with in the red zone.
Big guys.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
So that is just good news for the Chiefs. You think this is, again, just like it did with Cincinnati, going to come down to how much pressure the Chiefs can get early?
You know what? In a way, but these are different teams. Burrow throws the ball very quickly, right? That was the whole talking point last week. Yeah. Get ball out of his hands. The Eagles don't do that. Hurts will hold the ball. He takes some sacks. I think this game's more about the back end. You've got to cover. You've got to hold up. That's why I would basically double Brown and Smith on anything vertical. Anything. If you want to run that crap, fine. I'm going to double you everywhere you go. And if I'm the Chiefs, I'm fine. You want to run an 8-yard comeback route? Fine. I would tell the corners, be ultra aggressive. Challenge it. Challenge everything underneath, everything across the middle. Play through the body. I don't care the Carl Cheffers is the official. I don't care. Be aggressive in the game. And then over the top, you should have your safety help. I think if you're the Chiefs, that's how you play this game. And you allow for, if we can cover, listen, say whatever you want about the Eagles' offensive line. It's terrific. The Chiefs have a really good front defensively. They'll get home if they have 3.5 seconds. So coverage. I think that is more important in this game than it was against Cincy, where ball's going to come out quick.
How do the Chiefs keep Jalen Hurts in the pocket in this game so that he's not able to squirt out of there and extend those plays where even if you're double covering, a guy like A.J. Brown's going to get open?
I think a lot of it comes down to needing to maintain integrity on rush lanes. So what that means is if you're an edge rusher, if you're Karlaftis, if you're Clark, you can't get too far up the field, but you also can't just dip inside and then allow Hurts to escape out of the back. I mean, you want to be never deeper than Hurts is. Like if you're watching for a key on television, you don't want to see your DNs further up the field than Hurts. They should always be even or better. So that's one thing to watch. And then defensive tackles, you got to make sure that you're not getting washed to the side and opening up a middle lane. I know people have said spy him. I wouldn't spy him. You're taking a guy out of the defense. I would not spy him. Like, look, and by the way, as great as Hurts has been running the ball this year, and he's been terrific, he's not Lamar Jackson. Like, right. He's not, as much as you respect it, you'd be a fool not to incorporate it into your game plan. You know, when you look at Jalen Hurts this year, can he run? Absolutely. But if you look at it like, so early in the year, he was 90 yards in week 1, 57 yards. And after that, he had a stretch where he only had more than 30 yards, more than 40 yards once over 7 games. Then he went nuts and he ran for 86 and $157. And then it's been 12, 77, 61, 13, 34, 39. Like, I'm not saying he can't run. He obviously can run. But it's not to the level of like Lamar Jackson where if he gets loose, he's gone for a touchdown or 60 yards. Like, if he rushes for 40 yards in this game, 50 yards, fine. I don't care. I'm not changing my entire defense to stop that. Right.
It's more the kind of the obnoxious kind of running where it's like you think you got him and he scores, right. He gets a first down and you're like, God damn, like just.
If I was going to spy him, it'd be on third down.
Willie Gay?
Yes. If I'm going to do it, it's or maybe even Justin Reed. Okay. Like third down, play where okay, maybe here, right? But I'm not spying him all game long. If he runs for 50 yards, who cares? It's the same as if a running back does it.
Right.
I'm not. Now, if it gets to a point in the game where he's killing us on it, fine, change. But I would say I don't care if they run the ball a little bit. Cannot get beat deep and got to play well in the red zone. Do that, think you're in great shape. Now,
you've gone on the record as saying, and I agree, if the Chiefs can get a lead in this game, it could be a lot better for them.
Oh, yeah.
But the Chiefs also, when they win the coin toss, if they win the coin toss, they tend to like to defer.
Correct.
Is this a situation where you would prefer, if they do win the coin toss, take the ball, get your lead?
No.
No?
I'd want to play defense.
You want to see what they're doing?
Oh, yeah. You know what? Hurts has never been in this game before. Let him be a little jittery. Let him come out and deal with all the flash bulbs. And defensively, get off the field maybe. If you can do it, you've got a huge advantage already. You've already got the advantage of now, if you can get a stop, and it's an if, I get it. They could go right down the field and score. If you can get a stop, now all of a sudden, you have the ball 0-0, and you can double them up potentially at the end of the half. Worst case, you always get the ball coming out of the third. I always am a big believer in if you can get that possession to start the third quarter, it takes pressure off you early. If you're down 7 going into half, but you're getting the ball, you're fine. If you're down 7 going into half and you got a kick, you're playing in a dangerous spot. I would defer. I would give Philly the ball.
You think Andy likes to have that extra possession to kind of get intel so that he can make his adjustments at halftime? You think it's one of the reasons why he likes to defer?
Maybe a little bit, but I think he also likes to give Mahomes a chance to go out and have 14 points when you can't do anything to stop it. Right? So yeah. I think if you're the Chiefs, I don't think they'll change. I'd be shocked if they won the toss and all of a sudden like, hey, we'll take it.
Right.
They are who they are. I think it's going to be interesting too. You know, in this game, I was talking to Kaiser White, who's a former Chargers linebacker who now is with the Eagles. And he was saying, not a matter of a coin toss, but he had something to say about, hey, what would be the biggest key for you guys in this game? Just taking the ball away, getting a turnover. They've taken the ball away in every game but 2 this season. That is going to be another huge point of emphasis in this game. Like, don't give away possessions. You know, Philadelphia's won a lot of games based off the fact they've just taken the ball away from teams nonstop. If the Chiefs don't turn the ball over, I think they're in really good shape. And then if you factor in, if they get the ball coming out in the third quarter, you get maybe 2 possessions in a row, but at worst, you're keeping it going back and forth. You're not giving away 2 possessions in a row. I think the Chiefs should be pretty happy with that.
Yeah. We're going to talk a lot more about the game. We got Nick Lowery coming up here on the Arrowhead Addict podcast. If you could do us a favor, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button. We're going to be streaming for a couple hours here. We want to get lots of Chiefs fans in here asking questions and just enjoying Super Bowl week. I mean, I think if you're a fan out there, this is just such a cool opportunity. You don't know when I was in my 30s, mid-30s, until the Chiefs finally made a Super Bowl.
That's right.
So you don't know. Hell, I was in my 30s when they finally won a playoff game. So,
Yeah.
you don't know when these kinds of opportunities are going to come around. So make sure you're enjoying this however you can. We've been banging this drum on the podcast for a while. Now, the fanfare is just kind of getting started here. There were a lot of fans in the arena last night. In your estimation, Verderame, were there more Chiefs fans or Eagles fans?
Chiefs. I'd say it was probably 60-40, something like that.
Yeah.
There were more Chiefs fans. I would say easily the loudest ovation of the night was when Mahomes came out.
It was incredible.
No doubt. That was absolutely, no question, was the loudest when that happened.
They brought out Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, somebody, I think it was Kelsey, Chris Jones. I forget the other two Eagles. It might have been Hassan Reddick. But anyway, they were sitting there, and when the host introduced them, when she got to Mahomes, I mean, it was deafening in there. It really kind of – I mean, we know this. He's the face of the NFL, and he's a huge star.
Right.
But, like, with all due respect to the Eagles players and to Hurts, I didn't even notice when Hurts got introduced. But when they introduced Mahomes, the roof blew off that place. You know who got the second loudest ovation of the night?
Andy?
It wasn't Andy. Andy got.
Oh, no, Donna Kelsey.
It was Donna Kelsey.
Donna Kelsey,
yeah.
yes.
It was probably 1A and 1B because the Eagles fans, they love Andy too for right now.
Yes,
you know, but everyone loves Donna Kelsey.
She's everybody's favorite, but she should do the coin toss.
Yeah, right. I think they were talking about it.
There's
Is she actually
petition.
doing it?
No, there's a petition for it.
Okay. Yeah, I guess maybe they want a ref to do it, right? There's like a
They'll
rule.
have some honorary. They'll have like some
But I mean, it is really a cool situation when you think about it, because obviously, you know, all the Eagles fans love Jason Kelsey, even Chiefs fans. I mean, because of the New Heights podcast too. If you weren't familiar with one of the brother on either side, this was a great opportunity. They just seem like a great football family, and they're like living the absolute dream. You know, you've got 2 daughters. I don't have any kids. Could you imagine a situation as a parent where your daughters were in the pinnacle of their sport profession, going head to head? Like, how would you deal with those kinds of emotions?
I'd eat my way through them.
Yeah, that's good. Good call.
I would eat my way through them. You know what? I think it's one of those things. You kind of, this is a parent, like you feel really torn. I mean, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, on one hand, you'd be thrilled to death. On the other hand, you feel really bad. Like, I think in a way, you almost just watch it, and whatever happens, happens, and you kind of, I don't know that I'd have a rooting interest. Like, I'm not going to, like, root against one of my children, right?
Right,
so
yeah.
I think it would be like, hey, look, play it out, and I'm really happy for whoever wins, whoever loses, you know, there's next year, there's next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
It's got to be it's got to be weird for how they'll watch the game. Normally,
right, you're cheering.
You're cheering,
right.
But now it's like literally no matter what happens, it's good for one and bad for the other.
It might help that they're not on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, you're probably cheering for, like, both offenses.
Sure. Yeah.
You know? Like, it would be really weird if, like, Travis Kelce was a D tackle.
Right.
You know, like.
Yeah.
You know.
Going head to head.
I think at least there's that, right? But
Yeah.
you know, I think that's probably what I would just cheer for when they're on the field.
Yeah.
You know, just play it out.
Yeah. Rocky Pennington asked, do you guys think Melvin Gordon could be activated for the Super Bowl? I'll be honest with you, I forgot Melvin Gordon was even on the team.
Rocky, if he is, I'm going to be in deep emotional
right?
pain.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. No, don't think so, Rocky.
I don't think that's happening.
Yeah. They just activated Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They're good. It was a smart veteran depth move. Running backs get hurt.
Use insurance.
Yeah, just to have that back there. Let's get some questions in if you guys have any. We're waiting on Nick Lowery to stop by. Going to be talking to him. Very excited. Now, he's kind of the kicker of our youth, Nick Lowery.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
He was with the Chiefs for a long time, and I remember him hitting. He was Mr. Over 50 yards.
Yeah, look, Nick Lowery was the best kicker in really statistically in franchise history.
Yeah.
I mean, Jan Senderud, of course, the Hall of Famer. Nobody's taking anything away from Jan, but statistically speaking, I mean, Lowery was unbelievable. He was with them for almost 15 years.
Right.
He had a long career. Kansas City. I remember the first game I ever remember watching. He had the game-winning kick against Pittsburgh in the wild card round in '93.
Yeah.
So I always remember him for the single bar face mask.
Yeah.
Right before everybody stopped getting away. Damn it! I want more single bar face masks.
Yeah. Morton Anderson wore that too, didn't he?
He did, but not in Kansas City.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. William DeLong asks, "Do you think this is a good one? Do you think the turf will affect the game this time, like it did back in September? If you don't remember, first play of the game, Chiefs kicking off, Harrison Butker slips on the turf, gets injured, wasn't right for most of the season.
Right.
Do you think it plays a factor on Sunday? Are you worried about it?
They've been manicuring. No, the Super Bowl field is different than the regular field. They've been manicuring this for 11 months.
Wow, really?
Yeah, yes. So
that's incredible.
I do not worry about the field in this game. No.
Okay.
I was reading that for next year's Super Bowl in Vegas, they'll start working on the grass right after this game ends.
That's what they do is amazing.
It's insane.
I can't get my lawn in my backyard to look good.
It's a disaster.
You know, I mean, it's just it's patchy, and the fact. So I thought I saw this on Twitter this morning, but I haven't confirmed. Are the Chiefs going with the gold end zone Sunday?
Yes.
Oh, is that your favorite?
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Gold end zone. It's just Chiefs in red, and then you get the arrowhead on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
And the Eagles are going with their name mark in white and a green end zone with their logo on the left-hand side. So, yes, it's all set up. It's all set up. They got the I think it's at the 30s, the Super Bowl logo, and then the NFL logo at 50. I'm a huge field nerd.
Yeah. That stuff is great. We got another question here from Ms. Kraft. What are the chances that Bieniemy gets a job this offseason? How does the win-loss on Sunday affect those chances?
I don't think it matters win-loss. It's a good question. I think we're kind of going to watch Bieniemy entertain other job offers if they come. He almost left last year, and we were the ones who broke that he was coming back. I could see a scenario like that happening again. I could also see a scenario where he gets offered an OC job elsewhere, maybe even the head coaching job in Indy, although it seems like that's a long shot. But I think for him, maybe it's time for something different. You know, And I would wish him all the best. I would also selfishly feel like it's the last time I have to answer the question, does he call the plays?
Right.
Because he does not call the plays, but that has not stopped people from believing it for the last 5 years.
Yeah. That's as we are joined here from a great former Chief. How you doing? Nick Lowery's here.
Hey, how about the best story in football, the Kansas City Chiefs, from the ownership down to Mark Donovan in the best in-stadium experience in the NFL, to the coolest quarterback on the field and off, to the funniest, outrageous, best tight end in the NFL, to the best pass rusher in the National Football League, and a great team by itself.
I got to ask you right off the bat. First of all, well put. Second of all, you're rocking some serious jewelry.
Yeah.
Thank you,
the necklace,
Clark Hunt,
the
for letting
rings.
me have
That's beautiful.
that. The Super Bowl ring represents 50 years either of frustration or what it is now, which is we're back.
Yeah.
Boys and girls.
Yeah.
That's right. I like the necklace. You got
necklace.
That's nice.
I mean, for a kicker, that's perfect.
So Randy Mahomes, Patrick's mother, has this. Clark Hunt has one. Mark Donovan has one. And anybody that contributes $300 to my foundation for Champions for the Homeless can get one too. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
There you go, guys.
Look at that.
That's pretty cool.
$300.
Yep.
And
it's a write-off, and they get one of these.
What's the website? Where do they need to go to do that?
NickLowery.org, and it's the official 501c3, and we've served 100,000 homeless in 17 years, and we're going to be featured as the Arizona nonprofit to be featured at the Lee Steinberg Super Bowl party on Saturday.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's great. Who are you with, and what are you guys here
I am with
promoting?
one of the finest people I've ever met, truly, who just stepped down as the chief of the Border Patrol in Yuma. I've done 2 events there with Brian Urlacher, thanks to Sonia Mashmeyer, and we handed out 75 footballs to the Border Patrol who are, they've been missing people. They've been forgotten. And just meeting Chris and talking to Raul Ortiz, who's the national director, saying, hey, listen, we're here for you. We want to make sure that you're not forgotten. Not because there aren't people trying to come into this country, because they want to make America better, but because, of course, there are 1,000 people a day just on the southern border that are coming in, and you cannot figure out who are coming in for fentanyl and human trafficking as opposed to coming in for, what you might call the right reasons.
Yeah, and Chris, can you talk to us about this? Is not, I think a lot of people, they hear a lot about the border and everything that's going on, but they don't really know. This seems like a really difficult, hard job for many different reasons, right? I mean, some traumatic stuff happening down there. People are desperate. You got people trying to get drugs. It's just, can you talk to us a little bit about it?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'm just grateful to have this relationship with Nick because we're come down to the border and take care of our men and women that wear the uniform. But yes, we're dealing with people, both sides of the border, so it's complex. You're dealing with smuggling organizations, cartels that are commodity neutral, and it's all about making money. It's profit making for them. And so people from all over the world, and when I say that, I'm not kidding. Last year alone, when I was chief in Yuma, we had over 115 different countries we arrested people from. And most of our neighbors to the south in Mexico, Central America, weren't even in my top 10 countries. So it's a world problem that's coming in, and what it's doing is stressing the resources that we have, because people are coming in, crossing the border illegally, and our agents are having to respond. Well, these people are trying to take advantage of some of our system, where our agents get frustrated because they know what's going to happen. They're going to end up being released. But the real bad actors, the ones that are bringing the heavy narcotics, the ones that are criminal aliens, the ones that could be, somebody that has real bad intentions, are getting away. And in the last 2 years, the Southwest borders had over 5 million arrests and over 1 million known gotaways. And so the agents get very frustrated because their hands are kind of tied, because they're dealing with this migration flow instead of focusing on this national security and border security issue. So trying to find that balance takes a toll. And so bringing legends like Nick Lowery and Brian Urlacher and Randy Grimes and others in the mental health profession to come down and just talk to agents and say, hey, thank you for what you're doing. You're truly the heroes, has been a blessing to me. And that goes a long way.
Yeah, is it something from your perspective that, with the mental health component specifically, has that advanced in recent years? Is mental health has kind of entered the national consciousness, not just in this particular instance, but I feel like in general, that's been more of a conversation, right? I mean, it feels like people are maybe taking care of themselves a little bit better, or at least realizing that they should. Do you see that shift in Border Patrol, or is it kind of just at its infancy?
Well, I think we've made the shift. I think that it has been, well, I know for a fact no one wanted to talk about peer support and chaplaincy or saying, hey, are you thinking about killing yourself? That was taboo. You're a type A, you're a law enforcement, you don't talk about those things. You just swallow that until it manifests and becomes a problem. And that's not the way we've learned over time, right? We've gotten educated that that's not a good way to stifle your emotions, stifle things. You see trauma, or you have years of cumulative trauma. And so we need to just make sure we can talk about it. Not every agent or many of the agents have issues, but you know what? We want to make sure before that ever gets to that, before they make a bad decision or say something wrong or do something wrong, that they know they're taken care of, they're appreciated, and they're loved, and that we're going to get them help if they need it. It should not be a stigma to say, hey, I'm not feeling okay today, I need to talk about it.
So I actually, the brand ambassador for COPA Health, mental health, and you see Michael Phelps and Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka talking about that mental health is important to them, which created some space. And, football players and CTE, we've had my friend Junior Seau commit suicide, and, too many people, Kenny Stabler, you name it, some great players. Same thing with veterans, et cetera. So mental health is something I'm hoping COPA Health can begin to work with the Border Patrol to say, hey, we're here to make sure that before anything gets bad, you are able to feel on top of your life and not feel like it's too much, because that's what happens. Day after day, it becomes too much.
I imagine it's helpful to see other, similar types of guys, right? Guys when they go in the law enforcement, seeing NFL players who have also been traditionally viewed as tough guys and not allowed to, talk about their mental health, come down and look out for you and say, hey, it's okay to talk about these things. In fact, it's important that we do.
I mean, that is exactly it. That is exactly it. Well, I don't know. I think it was a couple of the players. It may have been Randy Grimes, but they talk about, hey, we geared up for 3 hours on a Sunday, and we had an off season. Law enforcement, and particularly in the Border Patrol, you're all the time. You don't get a break, and the media has been, not so favorable, and some of the politicians involved in things have not been so favorable, and it takes a toll. But after when a football player has a bad game, they talk about it, but they're ready for next week. But so there is similarities, right? And again, when you can have Hall of Famers and the most accurate kicker in Chiefs history, all that come in and say, hey, man, I feel you. Yeah. That goes a long way, and that's huge.
And, the other thing is, who else is telling the story? If 60 Minutes and 2020 come in and frontline and say, we want to go into the facilities, talk to these people, find out what's going on, how well are they being treated, they're shut out. How do you do that? How do you not allow our media to just see the story and let people, honest Americans, hardworking Americans of all races, make up their own minds? To me, that is doing a disservice and a disrespect to Americans that are working hard to do the right thing. And I think, we're in this climate now where probably 85% of Americans are doing the right thing, working hard, paying taxes, and want an America that's diverse and respects all people. and let's pull ourselves together and honor people that are serving this country the way they are. So that's our only goal, is to tell the story because no one else is telling it.
Yeah. That's well said. I couldn't agree more. And to switch to football for a bit, you made a lot of big kicks in your career. You had a long career, you had a great, distinguished career. We're going to talk to Adam Vinatieri tomorrow, another man who made plenty of big kicks.
Yep, he sure did.
When you played, how did you manage your nerves when you had a big kick? Whether, game-winning kick, game-tying kick. I mean, what was it for you that you were able to stay cool? Well, there are two basic voices.
Cool? One, you run around going, "Holy my God, this is the scariest thing ever. Help me, Mom." And then there's the other one that says, "Shut up." You practice. What you do is literally, seriously, you practice. Every practice kick is a situation with what I call healthy pressure. And this is true for all athletes. You make practice that way so that when you're in the game, you're back at practice. And that's what Harrison Butker does. That's what Pete Carroll did for the Jets when I was with them. That's what Andy Reid does. You got to create that game mentality. And Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, we got to push ourselves in practice so that we can relax. And, frankly, Vince Lombardi said that too. Make practice so hard that it's kind of fun to play the game.
Speaking of clutch kickers, Harrison Butker has generally been a pretty clutch kicker for the Chiefs over the years, including nailing a bunch of different game winners in the AFC Championship
including
game.
Sunday.
Yeah, just last week.
Hello.
So, there were comments. There was a lot, though. He had a stretch where he had an injury earlier this season. Then he had a stretch where he struggled a little bit. There were some comments made by Dustin Colquitt about Tommy Townsend and the holder. What did you see from Butker this year, and why did you think he had that period of struggle?
Dustin Colquitt did everybody a favor. He's a great guy. He was a great holder, and he's just saying, hey, don't forget, the holder's important. Tommy Townsend, my God, what a great punter. Yeah. Unbelievable. Crushes the ball every time. But maybe you might want to make that practice even more intense so you're ready, because the kicker only sees the ball not spinning for 0.2 of a second. If that's cut to 1/10, or if that mark where you're supposed to put the ball is missed by 3 inches, now suddenly a 50-yarder is missed by 1 foot that could have gone right down the middle. Yeah. So I think it's perfect because look how he's performed the last 2 games. Tommy's a great guy, incredibly talented, but I think maybe, sometimes we got to hear the bad news to push ourselves to get better. And Harrison, did he ever make an excuse? Did he ever make an excuse? Never. What a great human being. I'm so proud of him. I'm jealous of him, frankly, because he's so good. But you know what, Harrison? You're going to have to make a few this time, and I know you're going to do it.
First, let me ask you, who is your favorite holder in your career? Who is the guy you...
Steve Fuller was awesome. My first holder, and Steve Pallure. I was 24 in a row in 1990, 21 in a row in 1991, and 22 for 24 in 1992. So, Steve Pallure was great. Brian Barker, my punter, was very good. But I'd say Steve Pallure was probably... I just didn't have to think about it.
What was the most memorable kick of your career that you made?
I'm lucky to say 3 game-winning field goals in the Pro Bowl, but they pale in comparison to game-winning field goal to beat Pittsburgh in overtime. Joe Montana, Marcus Allen, J.J. Burden, Keith Cash, and all the other heroes, Derek Thomas, Neil Smith, in that really cold game. And then we go to Houston. I didn't have to kick a field goal, and we beat Warren Moon after 11 straight victories and come back to 25,000 people at Kansas City Airport welcoming us back. That's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Fellas, thank you so much for stopping by. We know you got to get to more tables. Before you go, who's going to win on Sunday?
31-24. It's going to be tied going into the fourth quarter. Okay. Remember, it was 20-10 for San Francisco with 7.5 minutes left.
That's right.
3 years ago. And then we're going to pull away. We're going to win by a touchdown, 31-24.
Okay. Guys, thank you so much.
Thanks,
guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, really thanks for all you do. Yeah, thank you, guys.
Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs, indeed. Take care. Nick Lowery and Chris Clem doing some great work, helping our heroes out. Yeah, appreciate you.
Thanks so much.
By the way, one of our co-hosts is Sterling Holmes. I believe you know that guy.
Yeah, I love you, Sterling.
Yeah, love to Sterling from Nick. That was awesome, Verderame. What were some of your takeaways from that discussion?
That Steve Pallure was a pretty damn good holder.
Yeah.
Right. No, I think. Look, you know what? It's interesting when you hear somebody who did that at such a high level in Nick, where. If you think of 3 inches on a hold, right, but in the NFL, that is that's the difference between, as Nick pointed out, making a field goal easily and missing it, or the 0.2 of a second.
I'd never heard that before. That's the stuff that you don't get as a fan,
And I'll tell you, we didn't talk about it here, but I forget where I was told this, but it was just during the season, with kickers, not only do they have that 0.2 of a second thing, which you'll learn today, but there's so many intricacies with the snap. Like, the best snappers in the league snap the ball in a way that the laces are in a particular spot so that the holder doesn't have to spin it more than a quarter turn.
Right.
That's bonkers to me. Like, and I get it. You're a professional, and that's what you do for a living, and so. But I don't care. Like, to be able to hit that spot over and over and over and over and over is just incredible to me.
Yeah. And then just the border stuff. You know, I just think it's great what they're doing. Obviously, you know, being able to talk about mental health, it's so important. And I just think, too, like, those guys down there, I just want to say, like, the way that they get drug into the political stuff, like, they get politicized, it's not fair to those guys.
It's not a political thing.
Right, it isn't. It's a dangerous job, and they're down there doing, you know, they're doing their best. And so
I look forward to getting killed for saying this, but I you know what? The conversation around not only border agents, but police in general has gone so sideways. Like, there's good and bad in every profession.
Yep.
And I certainly have one perspective that I only can live because it was my life, but I have a lot of family members who are in law enforcement. And, you know, I think like Chris kind of alluded to, these guys deal with it, not just guys, but girls as well, women as well, deal with so much mentally. You know, I don't mind saying, I don't think like my best friend is a police officer and couldn't meet a nicer human being. I mean, could not meet a nicer guy. And they go through, I mean, you know, you find an 8-year-old who passed away. You're trying to revive that kid for 45 minutes, and you get him to the hospital with a pulse, and they die at the hospital. You know, that's the stuff people don't think about. They see these unfortunate, awful videos, and these people who do these things should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, of course. But you don't see that the police officer who's a hero saves somebody. You know, I think all those things combined take such a mental toll. If you're human at all, it takes a toll on you. I thought Chris really put it well. I thought he did.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great interview. Really appreciate them coming by. And make sure you go to Nick's website, by the way. You know, I just spent
NickLowery.org.
Yeah, NickLowery.org. I just spent some money over at the team shop. As you know, there's a lot of really great gear down here. And I'm seeing that bling he's wearing around his neck.
Beautiful.
I could have gotten myself one of those for what I'm spending over almost, well, maybe not quite that much.
You're dope.
Yes, I wish he would have come by before I went over to the team shop. That's all.
Pretty cool.
Say.
I thought it was like some custom piece of like he only had like a cheese, you know, cleat. Like,
yeah.
Nope. It was interesting.
So what I want to draw attention to that, you know, Clark Hunt got him a ring, and that's
cool.
That's pretty cool that to go back that far, and I'm sure other legends got a ring. Why didn't we get rings? Is kind of, you know.
I would have enjoyed one.
Yeah, I mean, we've devoted our entire lives to the Kansas State Chiefs. That's right. That's right.
It would have been nice. Yeah. You know, Clark was there last night. That would have been great.
Yeah.
Should have gone up to me. Hey, I'm still waiting on my ring.
Where's my ring?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here?
Went through another.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Like, he just handed them out to every season ticket holder or something.
Oh man.
I mean, they're talking even for him. That's a good check.
Yeah. It
but,
sure is.
Yeah, no, I'm still waiting on mine. I think I got lost in the mail.
Yeah. Elijah in the chat says, appreciate a nuanced opinion, Matt. Yeah, like this stuff is, you know, everybody wants to make everything black and white. And we're not going to go too far down the political spectrum here, but people don't allow for a lot of nuance these days.
Real conversations cannot happen without it.
Exactly.
You cannot have – no, look, there are people – and this is a political thing. There are people who have opinions that are just so far out of the realm of – it's like, you know, somebody came up to you and said, hey, I think the sun is actually purple. You're like, well, it's not.
Yeah.
There's no nuance there.
Right.
But in most things in life, important issues, important topics, like there's nuance to be had.
Yeah.
And people just and you know what? Look, that comes from, you know, just being in an echo chamber. But I feel like Chris did a really good job of explaining, like, look, these people are human beings dealing with, who are also, by the way, dealing with other human beings. And he's right when he says, and of course he would know a hell of a lot better than us, or dealing with a range of things. It could be a cartel member. It could be a mother with a family of 4 just trying to get to a better life.
Right.
I mean, those people obviously need to be treated differently. Ergo, nuance. That's where it comes in.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know some of your questions in the chat. We got one here from Ms. Kraft. Heard you guys talking about this yesterday. If we win the Super Bowl on Sunday, are you guys planning on going to the parade route? Would like to come by and say hi. I think we might try to figure something out.
If I do, I've got to bring my daughter.
Oh, yeah.
I have to bring Maisie.
Yeah.
The parade?
Yeah.
She'll
have a blast.
To go.
She'll have a blast.
That would be a day of hooky.
Yeah. Are you okay with her being around a really drunk coworker?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she's around really drunk family members.
Right, yeah, there you go.
She's been to Christmas.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think, how much worse could it be?
I love it. Yeah, I mean, how do you feel about a parade in Kansas City in February?
Great.
Yeah, right? You're like, you don't care. I'll get a coat.
No.
We wear our starter jackets.
That's right. That's one of us, because if we both wear them.
We'll have to draw straws.
Yeah. But no, hey, man, listen. That's one of those things. Do you really care what the weather is?
No.
Are you really concerned
No.
about it?
No.
I feel like you're like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Throw the confetti.
Yeah. I mean, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but if the Chiefs were to win, boy, what a spring, like late winter spring in Kansas City. You'd have a parade, a Super Bowl, a parade, and then the NFL draft.
Let's not forget we were there.
Yeah,
December.
of course, yeah.
Right.
We were there in December. By the way, that was pointed out that the Chiefs have not lost since we did our live show in Kansas City at Tanner's on Rainbow.
That's true. Where I went on an all-time Verderame heater in the bathroom during halftime. I was furious with them as they were blowing a 27-0 lead to Denver.
Bumpa asks, did you? We haven't interviewed him yet. Are you going to ask the PFF guy about how Burrow had a better rating than Mahomes in the AFC Championship game? You're going to ask him straight up.
Yes, it's fair. Is that not a fair question?
I think it's a fair question.
I mean, I'm not going to ask like a jerk or anything, but I mean, just explain to people who are not familiar with the grading systems how you come to that kind of a conclusion.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, if you can't answer that, and I'm sure Steve will answer that question, he does an excellent job, but I mean, I think anybody who works at a company, of course you can answer that question, right? So, I mean, I think most people want to know with PFF, and not just PFF, but other places like Football Outsiders, who we're going to try to have on tomorrow, like DVOA, right? Like, what goes into that?
Right.
How do you make the sausage? I think people want to know that.
We got a question here. Let me just check this. If the Chiefs, Verderame might know this one because he knows everything about NFL history. If the Chiefs win, will this be the first time in NFL history where the city who won the Super Bowl also hosted the draft? Now, the draft hasn't been outside of New York for that long.
That's a really that's an interesting question. Just repeat that one more time so I can.
Yeah. If has the team that won the Super Bowl ever then turned around and hosted the NFL draft?
Okay. So the draft, as you point out, was at Radio City forever.
Yeah.
Or it was in a New York hotel. It used to be a New York hotel.
Yeah.
So without having it directly in front of me, I would think that you've definitely had the Giants in 86, the Jets were in 68, the Giants in 90. The Giants, I believe it still would have been in New York in 07. I don't know, was it still there in 2011? I'm not sure.
Somebody's asking if Philly hosted it.
And I was just trying to think
the
that
year
because I
after
knew
they won.
did.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up. That's interesting.
That's a really tricky question.
Outside of New York, I don't know. I'm not sure. That's a really good question. Though.
Yeah,
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
It would be rare. That's for damn sure.
Somebody says, didn't the Giants do it?
They would have had to because of New York.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The Giants.
It would have
Jets
been the Giants.
would
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
I don't know that for sure. I don't know outside of New York because Philly was the one I immediately thought of. Like, what year was that? We know the Bears didn't do it.
Yeah.
Titans didn't do it. I mean, that's where they've been. Browns. No, they didn't do it.
Nope, not in Cleveland.
I'd have to look that up. I'm not entirely sure.
But do you like that the draft travels now? Like, I personally, I'm a bit of a traditionalist, and I used to live in New York, so maybe that's why I feel this way. And I went to the draft at Radio City for years.
Right.
Now it moves around, but you think that's a good thing because fans who maybe, like, New York's an expensive place to go. You want to go to the draft. It's hard for some families, whereas if the draft comes to you, it might be a little bit more affordable.
I think, at first I'm a traditionalist, and I was like, I liked it, where it is, but you know what? I think I got to be fair. I like that it moves around now a little bit. It makes it interesting. It makes it different. Each city can have its own flavor.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool. I like that. So, here's the answer, by the way.
Okay.
So, Chicago hosted it at times. So, Chicago in 1963, they won. So, Chicago a few times hosted when they were the champs. The Raiders, no. So, Chicago did it a few times. New York, the Jets, the Giants, all 4 times. And then Philly, they won their title in what? It was 2017.
Sounds right, yeah.
So they hosted it going into the year they won the Super Bowl.
Got it.
So there's your answer. There
all
you
right. We got a question from Michael. By the way, if you have questions for us while we're waiting for our next guest, feel free, fire away. Super chats get priority. Appreciate all of you. Michael says, is it possible that we will see the Eagles defense get exposed like Brandon Ayuk believes? Now, if you didn't see Brandon Ayuk, he said some comments a couple of days ago basically saying that he thought the 49ers knew how to beat the Eagles defense and were going to expose them, but they weren't able to because of the quarterback injuries. And he said he thought the Chiefs were basically going to, he didn't say this exactly, but he thought the Chiefs are going to light up the Eagles. And Michael goes on to say the Eagles have only played 2 great quarterbacks on the year when they gave up 40 to Dallas and 33 to Rodgers.
And frankly, neither one of them were excellent this year.
Right.
Prescott led the league in picks despite missing a month and a half. They played Trevor Lawrence, but they played him in week 4 in a driving rainstorm.
Yeah.
And Rodgers had absolutely nobody to throw the ball to, and he played half the game. She got hurt.
Right.
So that is one looming question over this game. It's a fair one. Like, the Eagles have played absolutely nobody at the quarterback position most this year. Right? I mean, they played Goff in week 1. Goff, honestly, of all the quarterbacks they faced, he probably had the best year of anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was week 1. They scored 35 points on Philly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I will say this. The Eagles in the last 2 years have had Jonathan Gannon as their defensive coordinator, who, by the way, does a very good job. But when they have played a playoff team in those years, they have gotten torched repeatedly. Any playoff team they've played that had a quarterback lit up like a Christmas tree, literally without fail. I think Philly's going to have to score in the 30s to win this game. I really do. And the Chiefs have not given up 31 all year long. So I think Philly's going to have to do something nobody else has done against them.
It is going to be so exciting on Sunday. I know you guys are getting more and more excited. Fire those questions in. Listen, if you want to support us, there's a lot of different ways to do this. You might know we have memberships. We got a lot of really great members. They're commenting. We've got a really great Discord that we have just building this great Chiefs community. Yep. There's a bunch of different levels. There should be a link in the description if you want to become part of the Arrowhead Addict community. We just had a happy hour a couple weeks ago. We did a fantasy football league. A lot of fun stuff. It's awesome getting to know you guys. I was texting with some of the members that are here last night even. So it's really awesome. William DeLong says, are you guys going to be in the stadium for the game? I will not be. Verderame will be in there somewhere.
I will be there.
Yeah, he'll be in there.
The game.
Yeah, I'm not going to be, and I'm very happy to say that the reason is because FanSided has partnered with Special Olympics this year, and we've got a special correspondent, Special Olympics athlete, Malcolm. He's going to the game with Verderame. He's our reporter. He did an awesome job last night at Radio Row. As our next guest comes to join us. Yeah. How you doing, Steve?
Steve, how are you? Good. Thanks for stopping by.
Pro Football Focus is in the house.
Got it. Let's go. I'm here.
Right.
Let's go. You been making the rounds today?
Yeah, a little bit. It's been fun. Yeah, staying busy.
When did you get into town?
Yesterday morning. So I usually get in Monday night. It was nice to get in, get settled, and Tuesday's usually when it starts to get crazy here.
And for people, where are you based out of?
I'm in Cincinnati, so
right.
PFF's headquarters. We're all in Cincinnati now. Originally from Boston, though.
So that's why you guys rated Joe Burrow higher than Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, geez,
you're from Cincinnati.
Here we go.
We got a Chiefs podcast going here. We got to get into it. I think we know that's what our listeners want to know, and you guys catch flack. I think. Look, when you grade one of the players that everybody likes highly, everybody loves PFF. When you grade somebody low, you guys are hacks. So
is Mahomes low? He's not low. He's one of our top-graded quarterbacks again.
That's right.
I think what people are curious about, just in general, the Mahomes, bro, like, how is the sausage made, right? Because I think a lot of times people look at it, and as Patrick alluded to, if somebody's a fan of a team and the player is graded highly, you guys
of course.
Great. Say, hey,
yeah.
PFF said he was the best left guard of the week.
Right.
And then, like, if that guy's graded 13th, it's like, well, I don't care about what that says.
Yeah.
Can you give a little peek behind the curtain?
Sure.
How do the grades come week by week and then, of course, cumulatively throughout the year?
Yeah, so we grade every player on every play, and it's all production-based. So in the situation of a quarterback, when a QB makes a great throw down the field, 40 yards right in the receiver's hands, gets the same exact grade whether the receiver catches it or not. So that is where we probably have the biggest disconnect with fans, especially in a one-game sample where a QB makes 2 or 3 great throws that probably fall incomplete, or a couple bad throws that maybe don't get intercepted when they should, and we're just trying to stay objective about their contribution on every single play. And so, again, when a quarterback throws the ball right to a linebacker, whether it gets caught or not, it's getting the same grade. Bad read, threw it to a linebacker. So we do that on a play-by-play basis. We roll it up into a 0 to 100 grade, both at the game level and then at the season level. So it's just having context added to every single play on the offensive line. I mean, our guys are trained up to say, okay, here's what we're expecting from a guard and a tackle and a double team on power against a 3 technique and getting to the second level against the linebacker. Our guys are trained up to see the game through the same eyes as much as possible, to say, here's what a positive looks like, here's what a negative looks like, and we try to just stay as consistent as possible. And at the end of the year, we have grades that get put out there that are context around that particular player. Now, there's other contexts that say, some schemes are easier than others, and that needs to be factored in. That might not be baked into the grade, but that's why it's not as simple as just saying, this guy's a 90, this guy's an 89.2, therefore he's better.
Is it, for you, do you feel that some positions are a lot harder to grade than others? Like, do you look at it and go, you know what, this position, there's a lot of gray area as maybe opposed to another position where you go, okay, well, it's a little bit more black and white.
Yeah, so there's some gray areas, along, in the trenches and all that stuff, but I think our trench work is actually really, really good because it's really consistent year to year. When you look at our best offensive and defensive linemen, when you break it down by facet, it's pretty consistent year to year, pass blocking, run blocking, the whole thing. I think the further you get away from the ball, when you get into the secondary and corner play and safety play, there's gray areas because that's just tough. I mean, football's challenging because a lot of times a corner is at the mercy of who he plays more than other positions. When you're playing a good receiver, QB combination, you're probably going to get beaten more often. That's just the nature of the position. So the positions that are tough for scouts to evaluate are tough for us who are not really scouts. We're just adding a production component to it. It's tough for us to evaluate as well. So I'd say corners and safeties are
so
that position.
There's no curve, though, right? Like if you're always going up against the other team's number one receiver, do you factor anything in for that?
We don't bake it into the raw grade, but that's like context that we would use in, say, storytelling after the fact, or you could use some of our other data to say, hey, this guy graded as 90, and this guy was a 90, but this one guy was playing man coverage against the number one every week, and this guy was playing zone coverage every single week. Therefore, it's a different type of 90. The grade is basically saying, here's how well this guy performed in the role that he was asked to perform, and then you have to add some context on top of that.
When you see somebody like Patrick Mahomes, he's a weird guy to grade, I would imagine, because he's so unorthodox, right? I mean, he's not going to be Tom Brady, who stands in the pocket, gets the ball out in a couple of seconds. Mahomes will do things that most guys won't even try to do.
Right.
Does it make it difficult to grade him because he's just so out of the box compared to maybe a stereotypical pocket passer?
Yeah, there's definitely challenges, I think, with Mahomes. And I love Patrick Mahomes, but, right, I always preface these things. I start with that. He is awesome. However, he's also in one of the best systems in the NFL.
Sure.
And until this year, he had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. This year, only Travis Kelce. So Mahomes was in this position where I think he does do special things that maybe are tough to quantify. But he also, there's been a lot of times throughout his career where I don't think he personally has had a great game, but the offense has still performed, right? Statistically, there was a point where statistically he had never really had a bad game until maybe the Super Bowl against the Bucs. But we had him with bad games where he didn't play well, but there was a tap pass for a touchdown and a shovel pass for a touchdown, and the stats look great at the end of the day. So I think there's this combination of Patrick special, the offense is incredible, they've done a great job with the playmakers, they've got more yards after the catch than any team in the league by far this year, and that's not a knock, it's a description, right? So when you look at the stats and the production, sometimes we always equate it directly to the quarterback, and he deserves most of the credit there, but I think he's also been in this incredible ecosystem to help elevate his game as well.
Well, I mean, we got a big game on Sunday. You guys have been grading these teams all year long. Based on your grades for these two teams on the season, heading into Sunday, who do you think has the advantage?
I mean, I think it's close. I think everybody on Media Row here is going to be saying it's going to be a great game, it's going to be close. I agree with all of that. I mean, I think the Eagles are probably the better all-around team, but the biggest advantage is at quarterback for the Chiefs with Mahomes, right? I mean, he is the cheat code, and even in those times where I said maybe he hasn't had a great game, like the Super Bowl against the Niners, I don't think he was great for 3 quarters of that game, but he was unbelievable in the fourth quarter, right? And you still have that, and they still got to 31 points, right? So that's where I think Mahomes might be able to trump all of the Eagles' advantages, but the Eagles, I think, are the best all-around team in the NFL. They have different ways to win. They can win in the pass game, win with the run game. Pass rush is incredible, and their coverage unit is so much better than it was last year, and they really improved in that area. So I would say the Eagles have the, if you go position by position, advantage, but, the Chiefs have the trump card, I think, in Mahomes.
What do you think is the X factor in the game?
I think it's the Eagles' receivers. The Chiefs are going to play X amount of man coverage, and they'll play their press and all that stuff. And I think A.J. Brown has had such a transformative effect on that offense in Philadelphia, the same way he did in Tennessee, right? I mean, Ryan Tannehill decided to have career years all of a sudden when A.J. Brown got drafted. It wasn't because of Derrick Henry, it was A.J. Brown. And now Jalen Hurts is having that career year. So I think it's A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith making plays. If they can make some plays against the Chiefs' young corners on the outside, that's going to give the Eagles the best chance in what I think will be a close game, in the low 20s or so.
Okay.
Based on how they played this year, in your grades, what do you think the Chiefs need to do better in this game to give themselves a better chance to beat Philly?
I usually don't focus on. I mean, it's a pass the ball, stop the pass type of league.
Yeah.
If the Chiefs can stop the run a little bit better, though, if they can do that and make the Eagles a little bit more one-dimensional, or just get a lead, just getting a lead and forcing the Eagles to pass the ball a little bit more. The Eagles haven't played that brand of football a ton, so I think if the Chiefs do a good job on first and second down, stop the run a little bit better, which is challenging against the Eagles O-line and Jalen Hurts and their running backs, that should give the Chiefs a better opportunity here.
This might be a little bit of a tough question, but the Eagles this year, I think everybody would agree, best offensive line in football, if not top 2, top 3 in the league. I mean, phenomenal unit. They're 24th as a team, though, in sack rate, which is weird. I mean, Hurts is this dynamic, mobile quarterback. The offensive line's terrific. Based on what you've seen, is it because maybe Hurts will hold the ball a little bit, trying to make the special play, teams bring pressure? What do you think is the reason for having such a great line, a mobile quarterback, and yet a sack rate that is bottom quarter of the league?
Yeah, so sack rate's usually a quarterback-driven number.
Yep.
So the fact that Mahomes has a low sack rate isn't, because of his offensive line necessarily. It's because he's unbelievable at avoiding sacks. He invites pressure, which might make the line look bad sometimes. It might make Orlando Brown look bad sometimes when it's Mahomes dropping to 12 yards.
Right.
But he doesn't get sacked. Hurts does hold the ball a little bit too long, and some of those sacks have come on RPOs, right? So it's a run play. He's pulling it. It's not the line's fault. They're basically run blocking. The throw's not there. Hurts is taking a sack. So it's basically on him. A couple of decisions here and there. Gardner Minshew took some sacks that he probably shouldn't have as well against the Saints. So I think that's where it comes from. The line is really good in pass protection. They're really good run blocking, but it's on Hurts. And that's, those are coverage sacks too, but it's really on the quarterback to make sure he's getting rid of the ball.
Do you think the Chiefs' front is a little bit underrated in this game nationally? It seems like, look, everybody knows Philadelphia's tremendous up front, rightfully so. They're great. The Chiefs had 3 Pro Bowlers up front. You could argue whether Orlando Brown should have been a Pro Bowler or not. They had a couple of guys who were all pros in Tooney and Humphrey. Do you think that group might end up being a little bit more of a story if the Chiefs win, especially on Sunday?
Oh, I think there's a world where Mahomes' quick release and getting rid of the ball against the Eagles' zone coverage helps protect the line a little bit. But the line was unbelievable in those 2 games, particularly the Jags game. Like when Mahomes couldn't move, it was almost like they said, all right, that's it. Step up your game. In the interior especially, nobody was getting close to Mahomes. The offensive line was spectacular in pass protection against the Jags. Thought they did a great job against the Bengals as well. So, yeah, there's a world where we wake up on Monday morning saying, oh, the Chiefs' offensive line that let them down 2 years ago because they were all hurt, they were a big part of the Chiefs' Super Bowl win here.
You mentioned that sometimes quarterbacks can invite sacks, and whatever Chiefs fans watch this line, they point out Andrew Wiley as kind of the weak link. But I've seen some conflicting things. He's been credited with being responsible for some sacks. I saw a column from Bill Barnwell who mentioned that up until just a couple weeks ago, they had him ranked 9th in pass block win rate, and Barnwell kind of posited that like maybe some of those sacks were on Mahomes. I don't know if you have an encyclopedic knowledge of every player you guys have graded, but do you have an opinion on Wiley? Do you think it's true he is the weak link, or is maybe some of that on Mahomes?
I think he's the weak link because everybody else is good.
Yeah.
That's the issue. He's solid. This reminds me of Zach Strief was the right tackle for the Saints for years, and Saints fans didn't like him, and we were like, he's one of the best right tackles in the NFL. That's just what he is. I think Wiley's solid. I don't have his numbers off the top of my head, but I think we have a solid pass blocking grade for him.
Yeah.
The other thing too is when you look at volume, pressures allowed, sacks allowed, it's like, well, the Chiefs throw the ball more than most teams in the NFL as well. So of course he's going to allow more pressure. So is Wiley the weak link? Yes, because everybody else is really good, but I don't think he's a disaster there. Again, like Mike Remmers was a similar type of player, but he did get owned in that Super Bowl. So I don't think you're going to see that from Wiley.
You guys look at Chris Jones this year and say unequivocally he's the best tackling. Obviously, Aaron Donald's had that for the better part of a decade, rightfully. So Jones has had a career year and a career where he's been great by and large. Where do you guys rank him, stack him up as far as the year he's put forth.
Yeah, he was number one. I mean, it was a great year for interior defensive linemen. I think Dexter Lawrence was in that conversation for the Giants. We saw that in the playoff win against the Vikings. He dominated that game. But yeah, it was Chris Jones. I mean, we saw him against the Bengals, and having that type of player, I don't know if he'll have that same type of domination against a good Eagles defensive line or offensive line. But when you have the advantage, like he did last week against Max Sharping, he was winning almost every single rep. And so that was the type of dominance that Chris Jones brings to the table. Of course, we're looking at pass rushing and run defense. He's great at both. He's disruptive. So, yeah, he's going to be a key player in this game because he's got to open things up for everyone else, where the Eagles, they're rolling, 8 deep on that D-line that maybe the Chiefs don't have.
Yeah.
All right, before we let you get out of here, I'm sure everybody's asking you this. What's your prediction for Sunday? How's this one going to turn out?
On Chiefs radio and everything, I go Chiefs win, So, if I do Philadelphia predictions, we go Eagles. Is that allowed?
That's fair.
Nobody could check me on that.
Thing.
Let's go 27-24 Chiefs. I think the dynasty gets pushed forward and they pull it off here.
Do you think they're a dynasty if they win this game?
I mean, it depends on what you're. I mean,
I'm asking.
I make team building decisions. I look at them making team building decisions like the Patriots dynasty, right? You've got your quarterback. What are all the moves that you can make to, make sure that he's successful? And they're close to what the Patriots were doing as far as they're locked in for the AFC Championship. It's just a matter of how many titles are they going to win. If they win this, then I think they're definitely in that conversation.
Hey, we got Sam Monson coming by tomorrow. What should we ask him?
All the same stuff.
What should we know about him that we can needle him?
Ask him tips on he's losing his hair.
Okay.
All right. So ask him tips.
We know about that.
Yeah, right.
Sure,
so you have tips on losing his hair. I think that's a good one.
Okay.
And then rugby questions. You got to ask him some rugby. Ask
okay.
How Ireland's going to do this weekend.
Okay.
In the Six Nations. That's a big one.
I'll come up.
He'll
with
light up.
good.
He'll be real excited.
We'll do. Thank you for stopping by. We really appreciate it.
Palazzolo
Thank you, guys.
PFF. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Steve. Take care. All right. So hopefully you got some answers.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Take care. Yep. Hopefully you guys got some answers. Let's see from the chat how you guys thought.
I didn't even want to look at the chat.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know if Steve won them over with his argument.
Maybe not so much.
But do you think he had a real shot?
No. But the man came on and he faced some good questions. Obviously, they're good questions. You know what though? I thought what he said was pretty insightful.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty interesting, right? Now, do I agree with all the stuff with Mahomes? No, I don't. I mean, look, I agree they're an amazing system. I also think Mahomes very rarely has a game where you're like, wow, he didn't play well. Did it happen? Sure. Not a lot. But I really thought his analysis of the Super Bowl was pretty spot on, frankly.
Yeah.
I thought he did a nice job breaking it down.
And what do you think about, because this is something that a lot of people, particularly, Bills fans, Bengals fans, teams, opposition to the Chiefs. Right, yes, teams that are home.
Sorry,
they like to complain. You'll see this on Twitter, like, oh, Mahomes, all he ever does is, throws the ball 2 feet in front of him, these touch passes. What is your opinion on that? Because, sure, he gets credited for a touchdown pass, but at the same time, do you want your quarterback to be in an offense where everything's hard? Where they make everything,
No, obviously, no, I do not. And also, look, I would say that, he's not unique in that. I mean, look,
right.
There are definitely, I cover the whole league. I watch all these teams. There are definitely teams that make it very hard on their quarterback to succeed.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that. Hello, Nathaniel Hackett. Okay, I'm not arguing that point.
Yeah.
What I would say, though, is if you watch most good to great quarterbacks, they are put in positions to succeed all the time.
Right.
That happens all the time. A lot of teams do those push passes. Tom Brady, how many times did he throw a 2-yard touchdown pass?
Right.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Right? That's okay. That's not abnormal. That's not something that's weird or you'd go, wow, I can't believe the Chiefs are doing this newfangled concept.
Right.
Mahomes has those plays, but I think what separates Mahomes is obviously the plays that nobody else makes.
Yeah.
And that's something he does all the time.
Yeah. He is special, and I would take him over anybody in the league. We're going to have our guy, Matt Connor, coming up. He's going to be joining us remotely. He is not in Arizona because the man his keyboard's probably smoking at this point.
Yes.
From all the articles that he's been turning out. He's going to be joining us at the half-hour mark. We want more questions from you, so if you want to hear from us on what we think about the Super Bowl, the food down here, the weather, whatever you want, we're here. So drop some questions in. And while we wait for those questions to come in, I got to tell you, if you want to help out our podcast, if you want more Chiefs coverage like this, if you want us to be able to come down to the Super Bowl, and Verderame and I don't have to share bunk beds. We talked about this yesterday.
No.
Please send money. No, you can help us out. The biggest thing that you can do is sign up with one of our betting partners because they pay us a small fee every time one of you guys signs up. So let's do, how about this one? Let's do Caesars. I don't think we've done Caesars on the show. If you've not signed up with Caesars, you can go there right now. You can use the code ARROWFUL. ARROWFULL. I don't know why that's the code, but that's the one we got. ARROWFUL. And you'll get your first bet on Caesars up to $1,250. This is for new customers only, 21 and up. You got to be present in the States when you make the wager. It's a $10 wager required, and the bet amount of a qualifying wager returned only if the wager is settled as a loss. So the maximum bet credit is $12.50. It must be used within 14 days of receipt. If you have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER in Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Wyoming. 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado and Kansas, 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York, 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 888-789-7777 in Connecticut, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, 1-877-770-STOP, or you can text 7867 in Louisiana, call or text TN Redline, 1-800-889-9789 in Tennessee, or 1-888-532-3500 in Virginia. Help out the Arrowhead Addict Podcast. Go to Caesars if you've never bet with them. Use the code ARROWFUL, and you get that first bet on Caesars up to $12.50. That's a good one. And if you want to see any of our other promos, go to arrowheadaddict.com/bets. Click on those links. We'll get credit for those, too, if you haven't bet with those.
Also, a little breaking news for us. We will have another Chiefs legend on Friday.
Oh, who?
Tony Gonzalez.
Tony Gonzalez coming by. So Tony Gonzalez is coming by. By the way, we've got somebody tomorrow you might have heard of.
He was pretty good.
Should we spill the tea?
Yeah.
It's Joe Montana.
Yes.
Joe Montana.
Which is going to be the only interview I think I've ever done where I'm actually nervous because Joe Montana was my hero as a child. So this is going to be
same.
This is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I may be. Listen, I'm not going to lie. This is going to be the one time in my career I absolutely get a photo with him.
Yeah.
We'll
have a video.
Question.
We'll have a video of it.
We'll also get Carson Palmer's going to stop.
Carson Palmer stopping by.
We got don't mean to put him right after Joe Montana there.
Right.
In that tease.
Right.
But Carson Palmer, a hell of a quarterback in his own right.
Yeah.
Got Tony Richardson.
Fullback. Yeah.
Of course, fullback extraordinaire.
Tony Richardson's coming by. We're going to have Clay Harbor. Adam Best will be joining us. Yeah. So you guys, the
Justin Jefferson.
The Thursday slate. Deion Sanders.
Just call out of work.
Yeah, right?
Look, here's what you do. You call out of work. You call in dead.
Yep.
Say, look, I passed away last night. I'll be back in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Okay? Then, if you're in the Kansas City area, you go get some KC beer. All right? You sit down. You do the right adult thing. You send the kids out of the house because you don't want to have them see you like that. And then you pull up one of these things we just had Patrick read off, like 38 different states where you have a gambling problem.
Right.
Make the bet. Use the promo code. That way we all still are employed by the time we get back from this place.
Yeah.
And then sit back and watch us interview Deion Sanders, Adam Vinatieri, Justin Jefferson, Tony Gonzalez, Joe Montana, on and on and on and on. Okay? You get to see them. You get to hear less of us. It's a win for everybody.
Right.
Do the right thing.
Yeah, you're getting Chiefs Hall of Famers, NFL Hall of Famers, me and Verderame. It's a pretty big drop-off.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big drop-off.
The massive drop-off.
You know,
what are you going to do?
I think he's going to come by. So supposedly Stephen A. Smith is going to come by tomorrow.
Amazing.
Now, I have long wanted to see you debate Stephen A. Smith. I've long said it. Verderame could walk on, and I just think, and I'm saying this because I think you're talented, not because it's an easy job. I think you could walk on that first take tomorrow and go toe-to-toe with Stephen A. Smith on almost any topic. All right?
Ready.
If he comes by tomorrow, Thursday, sorry. If he comes by on Thursday, and you got the chance to debate him in something, let's say, and it was one that you thought you'd feel really confident you could beat him at, because this man does this all day, every day.
Yeah.
What would the topic be?
I mean, anything about the NFL, and not so much. I think I could beat him. I think I could I could hold my ground.
Hold your own. Yeah.
I mean, because beating him, the man literally does this for a living every day of his life for the last 15 years. The NFL, actually, here's one thing I feel like I'm confident because I heard him talk about this. Man's not a big hockey fan, from my understanding.
Yeah.
'Cause I know he's said it multiple times on TV. Like, first of all, they never talk about hockey.
Right.
Second of all, I've heard him say he's not a hockey guy. So unless I'm completely misremembering, me being a hockey guy, I feel like I'm in good shape. Like, if I can't hold my own in that argument, I'm in rough shape.
Right.
That'd be like losing an argument about my family.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's tough.
Yeah.
So I would feel good about that.
Also going to be coming by is former Philadelphia Eagle Mike Golick. Mike Golick Sr.
Yeah.
Why didn't you get us Golick Jr., Hunter? I want both. I want the whole Golick family. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Brian Westbrook's coming by too? What day is that? Friday. Man.
Hunter's
If you-
Hunter's coming through in a big
Hunter
way.
is. If you look at our guest list, like it's just increasing every day.
Yes.
So I mean, by the time Sunday gets here, we're going to be exhausted. But yeah, Matt Connor's coming up next. I'm so excited for Joe Montana. Let's talk about Joe for a second.
Let's do it.
As many of you know,
Sit on the back burner.
a hero for both of us growing up.
Oh my God.
Right. I want to ask Joe about Marty. Right. Like
Yeah,
I
that's a
want
good
to
one, man.
you know, like what
You know what I
was
wanna
it like
ask
playing
him?
under Marty?
That's a great question. I want to ask him if he doesn't get knocked out of that AFC title game against the Bills. Does he win him that game? Does he find a way?
That Bills team was so good.
I get it, and that's why I want to ask him. But like, I want to ask him that. I also want to ask him, son of a bitch, Steve Bono of '95. And I've heard him say that's his one regret. He should have stuck around one more year. Do they win the Super Bowl if he's there?
Oh, I think so.
Like they're at least in it, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they're at least in it. Like he's not losing to John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh or Neil O'Donnell.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Freaking Steve Bono, fraud.
Right. How old was Joe when he retired?
37.
Do you think if he was playing in this day and age
would've
with
played another handful of years.
sports science, all that stuff, Joe's
He had a lot of injuries. I mean, he had
plus the
concussions,
way that they let him
back
take
injury,
hits.
elbow injury. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? He got hammered. Yeah, probably. That's why, like, Mahomes is 27. Knock on every piece of wood you can find, but, like, could he play another 15 years?
Yeah.
Right? If he wants to, probably. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think it's – look, Brady's a freak that he played to 45. But, like, if Aaron Rodgers was on a team with good weapons and he wanted to, you're going to tell me Aaron Rodgers couldn't play for 3 more years? By the way, I don't know if people have seen the latest from Aaron Rodgers.
No.
He's going to lock himself in complete sensory-depraved darkness for 4 days. He says he's expecting to have some hallucinations. I mean, this is somehow a real thing that he mentioned on the McAfee show today. Like,
Where's Mac?
he's over there. We'll have to bring Pat
I wish
on.
we're not mobile. We need to for tomorrow, Hunter.
Apparently-
We want to be able to get up and move around the space. Yeah, the internet.
Apparently, yeah. He was like, I'm just going to have nothing but total darkness in a small house for 4 days. No sound, no light.
Sensory
I'm just-
deprivation
and
chamber.
He
like,
said he's just going to, it's possible he's going to have hallucinations. And he's going to come out of that. And I'm like, what is happening?
I thought this was the guy that didn't want to put weird stuff in his body. How's he going to have hallucinations?
It's
just from the darkness.
I'm so confused. Like, I have no idea what's happening. I also don't know, like here's my thing with this. Who's the first person who sat there and was like, you know what? I'm going to sit in a dark room for 4 days and not do anything.
Right.
Who was that person?
Yeah.
And how do
Well,
we
that was
know-
me after the AFC Championship game last year.
That's fair. But then also, like, how do you know, like, okay, that person comes back and says, I did this for 4 days and I hallucinated. Maybe that person is nuts. Like, you don't know that person is the control here, right? Like,
right.
That person could be out of their minds.
Yeah.
They could have been coming off of some kind of a drug. Like, how do you know that, like, hey, I did this right?
Yeah.
What if you just sat there for 4 days and you walked out and you're like, man, I'm just hungry.
I hope.
Turns out I'm not hallucinating. I'm just really hungry.
I hope he goes to the Raiders, man. Just bring all that
please.
kooky shit to
great.
Las Vegas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Going on vision
Davis.
quests out in the forest. You know, he's gonna come out and he's gonna be like,
100%.
"Hey, we can only throw 50-yard passes. Only 50-yard passes. That's it. Every play."
I'm
you
here
know?
for
I love
all of it.
I love it.
All of it.
I just think that the AFC, like, if you're the Chargers,
Right.
I mean, you got to be looking around at the AFC West and be like, we got to get our shit figured out here. Because, like, I mean, we don't want to be looped in with those guys. We want to be looped in with those guys, right? I mean, it is absolutely brutal. Do you think Brandon Staley makes it? Like, is he the coach of the Chargers?
Only makes it for 1 more year.
1 more. That's it, though.
By the way, did you see the? Nick, hold on. I want to make sure I clarify this because I don't want to be one of these people who takes somebody else's work and screws up the wording.
Yeah.
But, so Daniel Popper does a great job at The Athletic covering the Chargers. he posited that they have a salary cap crunch coming up, which they do. The 100% ran. I've written about that. And they're going to have to make some tough decisions. And he kind of wondered aloud in a new piece. So the Chargers are over the cap by $20 million, okay? And he was asking essentially, do they cut Keenan Allen? Do they actually move on from Keenan? Now, Allen's going to be 31 years old in April, as Popper notes, okay? He's signed the next 2 years. And he's, along with Mike Williams, their best offensive weapon, I think it's fair to say. So what do you do here? Now, for the record, if they were to cut Keenan Allen, all right, first of all, he would have a lot of suitors.
Yeah.
Second of all, if they were to cut Keenan Allen, you're looking at a cap savings of $14.8 million, and they're eating $6.9 dead money. Like, Popper's not crazy for saying that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of money saved. Also, Khalil Mack, $18.4 million saved and $9 million dead money hit. You know, I'm like, what do you do? They don't have a lot of guys they can save a ton on. Michael Davis, a corner they could cut for $7 million. Okay, 7.4. Excuse me. Matt Filer, starting guard, they could cut for 6.5. But I don't know if they're in the business of cutting offensive linemen.
Right.
So, like, do you think that's the right move of Keenan Allen, or would you try to exhaust all other opportunities?
You know, look, man, I think Keenan Allen's a great player. He's had some injuries. He's getting older. I think that it takes some resolve as a general manager to do that. But I think moving on from a player, if you can trade him, that's probably going to be hard to do, right?
Right.
With the cap number.
We're getting very little.
Yeah, you don't get much for it.
Teams know that you
right.
move him.
And you probably want to do right by the guy. He's given your organization a lot. You cut him loose, you let him sign with who he can sign
and
with.
Save an extra like $1.5 million.
Right. So, yeah, I think you got to do it. And it's just, you know, and by the way, this is the guy who said that some people were going to get exposed in Kansas City this year with Tyreek Hill being gone. So bad on him. Listen, we got our guy Matt Connor coming in, so we got to put our headphones on. Give us just 1 second. We got to make a transition, and we're going to be joined by Matt Connor, editor-in-chief of Arrowhead Addict. I'm hearing myself. It's the delay. Matt Connor coming up, everybody. Going to ask him what's going on over on the website. Matt, are you with us?
Yeah. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Yeah,
I'm
doing
good.
well.
Yeah. We're doing well.
Media Row, is it
Can you
pretty
hear
exciting
us?
there?
We're good, man. Hang on 1 sec. We're getting a little bit of feedback. I think we're good now. I'm not hearing it anymore. Okay. Matt, how you doing, man? What's going on, man? Like, what's happening on a website? We're out here. We've been streaming now for a couple hours here live from Radio Row. So we don't know what's going on with the Chiefs. Does anything happen? Any breaking news? What's happening on arrowheadaddict.com right now?
No breaking news. I think you guys know. I mean, the Chiefs are getting healthier. That sounds pretty great. By the way, I just read this thing where it said the NFL's single worst Super Bowl predictor for the last 15 years. Like, he's gotten it wrong a decade and a half in a row, and he just picked the Eagles. So,
right.
Yeah, we'll take it.
That's what we're looking for. So what? I mean, I know you. I was shuttling you video last night and this morning. Any big takeaways for you from anything that was said on Radio Row last night, or I'm sorry, at opening night?
Opening night.
Man, you guys got some great stuff. I was glad to see McCole Hardman. I was glad to see McCole Hardman out there because, like, one of the thoughts that I've had during this postseason run is that this is kind of an unfortunate ending to his career. He's the most experienced wideout in that room. This is a contract year for him. Tyreek's shadow is finally gone after this year. This really could have been a nice year, and he came on strong there in the midsection of the season when he had like 5 touchdowns in 3 games. And then came this injury that really took him out for the rest of the year. You should call it a season-ending injury from week 9. So, seeing him out there in good spirits, joking with Andy Reid, that was nice. Also, by the way, did you guys hear anything from Pacheco yesterday?
I didn't. I was not interviewing him. I was walking around talking to some of the defensive guys.
Yeah, he was popular.
Yeah.
It's different. It's difficult to get to the offensive podiums. Really get swarmed, and I took that as an opportunity to get guys like Frank Clark, Chris Jones. Chris Jones is pretty popular as well, but there's an offensive bias even with the media.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, I certainly get that. He just had so many great things to say about what he's gone through to sort of keep up his success even late in the year, like taking copious notes from Kelsey, from Mahomes, asking all the time how to take care of his body, incorporating a routine as a rookie very early into the way he takes care of himself, and like in terms of healing and in terms of getting better. And then he made this note, and it hadn't occurred to me at all, but he said, look, I haven't had downtime in forever. Like, I went from Rutgers straight into 2 All-Star games, straight into pre-draft training, straight into the combine, straight into the draft, straight into OTAs, then training camp, mini camps, and then the longest season ever. You just realize that these rookies have actually like been playing football or training for football for like 13 straight or like well over a calendar year. I'll bet the offseason will feel nice, but yeah, it's a long time for these guys.
Yeah, and they play the short season in college. Yeah. So then you get into the NFL. It's
real
long.
short at Rutgers.
Yeah, Rutgers.
Ain't
right?
No bowl game at Rutgers.
No bowl games at Rutgers, and then you go the 17-game season, which is already really long, and then you're on a team like the Chiefs, and you're playing in February.
So, by the way, I want to ask you, Matt, because I'm pulling up an article right now on The Ringer that I think is really interesting. It's called Super Bowl Cheat Sheet: 25 Things You Need to Know About the Eagles and Chiefs, and in it, there's a whole bunch of statistics that are really deep diving. They're interesting. But one thing that's fascinating is a lot of people have talked about that Jalen Hurts is better against man coverage than he is against zone coverage. Here's one of the things that was pulled up, though, for Mahomes. In EPA, which is kind of a catch-all stat, in EPA per pass play, against man coverage, zone coverage, blitzing, and no blitzing, Mahomes ranks number 1 in all of them. If you're the Eagles, to put your hat on the other way, what would you try to do to stop the Chiefs and to limit Mahomes in this game? How do you expect Philly to try to play this game?
I think they may give him a little bit of, I'd give him some room to move if he wanted to like try to force something on that ankle. I mean, if you want to take an early weakness and try to make it worse, in that way. Look, I think the Eagles present an issue here in that they have more talent at every level than the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs have the best players on the field overall. Like if you were to combine both rosters and like put them together like a deck of cards, like you're shuffling, I think the Chiefs come out on top with the best players. But like by level, I think they're deeper and more talented overall per unit. And in that way, I think that some of these mismatches combined with some of the injuries that the Chiefs have in the receiver room, like they're saying Tony's going to play, Juju's going to play, Justin Watson's no longer sick, whatever. But also those guys aren't going to be 100% either. And so, to me, I'm absolutely doubling, I'm putting 2 guys on Kelsey at all times. I'm trying to reduce any sort of free room that he has just to find a soft hole in any zone there. I'm not blitzing, but I don't think you need to with their front 4. That said, look, the 3 quarterbacks the Eagles have played 3 quarterbacks who finished the season in total QBR, right? One of those was Brock Purdy, who didn't finish that game and didn't play. One was Ryan Tannehill, who didn't finish that game either. So you're talking about Jared Goff as the best offering there. Aaron Rodgers hung 33, Dak Prescott hung 40. I mean, I just don't think, you brought up those stats. I don't think, honestly, the Eagles can do anything to truly stop Mahomes. I think it's good. Like, Mahomes is going to get his in this game. Although I do think they're also that talented. It's a mixed bag. I see it both ways, but I probably didn't give you a good answer there at all.
Well, you did the best you could, and we appreciate it. Look, it's interesting, though, your QBR thing. So Goff is, by QBR, he's the best quarterback that the Eagles have faced this year. He's 5th in the NFL, 61.2. For the record, Mahomes was number 1, 77.5. It wasn't even close. Nobody else even had 72. And this is a one throw. After Goff, Daniel Jones is 6th, but he threw for 3,200 yards. Not exactly a dynamic passer, more of a high QBR because he didn't turn the ball over much this year. Big change for him. They didn't see another guy until Prescott at 12, who led the league in picks despite only playing in 12 games. Then you go to Lawrence at 15th. Lawrence played them in week 4 in the monsoon. You get to Justin Fields on an awful team week 17. Kyler Murray at 19. Like, they, in the top half of the league of QBR, the only guys they saw this year, Goff, who lit him up for 35 points. Daniel Jones, who does not throw the ball very much. Prescott, who lit him up for 40 points. And still, that game was sacked 6 times. And then Trevor Lawrence, who played, again, in a torrential downpoint at 5 turnovers in the game. I think he lost 4 fumbles. After that, I mean, you're looking at number 17 in the league, 19, 20, 21, 23, 24. A lot of these guys didn't even qualify. Like, some of the guys they played, Heineke's not even in there. Wentz is 30th. Davis Webb, not in there. Davis Mills, 29th. Matt Ryan, I think just out of respect for his career, they put him at 25. I was going to say maybe they just dropped him off the list completely. Like, whereas for the Chiefs, they saw number 2 in Josh Allen. They saw number 7 in Geno Smith. They saw number 10 in Joe Burrow. They saw Herbert twice at number 11. Carr at 13th. They saw Lawrence twice, including the playoffs. They saw Jimmy G at 16th. They saw Brady. It's just, there is something to the idea, yes, the two teams have been tested much differently, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Matt, I got to ask you, man. You're the editor. Obviously, you're a co-host with us here on the podcast, but you're also the editor-in-chief of arrowheadaddict.com. You guys pump out hundreds of articles every month, so you're always grinding. But what is it like to run one of the biggest Chiefs websites in the world during the week of the Super Bowl?
I mean, yeah, there's a lot to cover. What's funny is that like, what other sport in whatever time of year could there be considered news where it's like, hey, a seal at the Pittsburgh Zoo swam more toward the Eagles side than the Chiefs side, and then they issue a press release about it, right? It's like, it's everyone's fighting over the same stuff. It is interesting though. Look, running this site at this time just feels so different. I'm not just writing about something that is a job that I like happen to pick up. The truth of it is, like, when I saw Christian Okoye run for the first time when I'm 10 years old and thought, how does a guy as big as our refrigerator in our house run over guys like that, right? Like when you're little, you just look up at anything big and loud and think, that's cool, like a dump truck or an excavator or any big whatever, except that guy was like running. He was running. And then you play Tecmo Bowl and you're like, I'm him, I'm running, right? And so like carrying that passion on through the Montana years and Schottenheimer, and then through the garbage years, and then you go through Javon Belcher and Pioli and the craziness of those years, and then now being able to appreciate a decade of Andy Reid's excellence and watching Hall of Fame players in their prime and reporting on them week after week. I feel like we get the gift of reminding people, telling people, hey, you're experiencing the golden era. Hey, this is the time you'll look back and tell your kids about, your grandkids about. Like, these are the years. And so, yeah, like, there's a joy in that I think is not lost on me, to do this.
What's it like as a fan? Now, I know how I feel about this, getting to cover this team over the last few years. But like, one part of it, right, is work. You're doing the posts and the podcast, but the other part of it is you got into this because you love the Kansas City Chiefs. So how do you square that when you're trying to write, but also you're feeling the emotions that a fan feels, and how is that going to impact you on Sunday?
Sure. That can be hard. I've even written probably out of a wrong energy versus a right energy. But I always want to be fair. I always want to be, not a homer. You write. You want to write honestly about your team so that whoever's reading you now will believe you later. And so, getting caught up in the emotionalism of it is good for social media, maybe. But when it comes to like what you write, you want to be able to tell the truth about your team, even warts and all. So, what's amazing is the Chiefs have identifiable warts this season, and yet they've dominated the competition like they have.
All right, listen, Connor, we got about 4 minutes because we're having a surprise guest here. We're going to have Garrett Wilson of the New York Jets coming on here to join us in a few minutes. Not to cut you short, but listen, man's only got so much time. All right, give it to us straight. What do you think of this game? What is your crystal ball telling you?
Yeah, let me leave you with two things. One, a quick anecdote. Sean Payton said yesterday in his opening press conference for the Broncos, he said, a perfect weekend for the Broncos is when the Broncos lose and all three of our rivals, or when we win and all three of our rivals lose. That hasn't happened for the Broncos since October 2015, when they won and everyone else lost in one weekend. So, when I heard him say a perfect weekend, I thought he has no idea what he's talking about. That never happens. And then it went back farther than I thought. So that's just a laughable statistic. By the way, I think the Chiefs win this by 10. I don't think it's particularly interesting, into the second half. The Eagles have put up a lot of stats on a lot of garbage teams. I just think these Chiefs are battle tested. And when it comes down to it, I'm taking Andy Reid over a rookie coach.
Love it, man. Love it. Make sure, guys, you get over to arrowheadaddict.com. Matt and all the writers over there have been busting their asses all week. They're going to continue to bust their asses all the way through the weekend and into Monday, telling you what's happening with the Chiefs. So when you're not watching us, you should be reading them. Matt Connor, editor-in-chief of Arrowhead Addict and our friend and co-host to the Arrowhead Addict podcast. Matt, thank you for hopping on with us, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Yep, thanks, guys.
See you, brother.
Also, I love that on the screen he is Cocaine Bear.
Cocaine Bear, that's right.
Phenomenal.
That's right. So we've got, this was dropped on us. We got Garrett Wilson, as you mentioned, from the Jets, also from The Ohio State University.
Yes.
I'm very excited as an Ohio State fan and as a person from Ohio to have Garrett Wilson. And an interesting thing with Garrett Wilson is, I don't know if this has been confirmed, and maybe it has been, but when the Chiefs were trying to trade Tyreek Hill, it was between the Jets and the Dolphins.
Yes.
Now, I read that the Jets did offer up the number 10 pick that they used they used to take Garrett Wilson. So there's a world in which the Chiefs take that. The Chiefs are at 10. Maybe Garrett Wilson's still on the board.
And they take Garrett Wilson. Would you have liked that move, and how do you think he would fit in with the Chiefs? He's terrific. Yeah. I think where the Chiefs were, they needed other things. So I think it worked out. But that being said, I wouldn't complain if they took Garrett Wilson. Right? I think it would have been. Listen, I don't know that I'll ask Garrett Wilson this because it might be a little bit disrespectful, not to him, but to the Jets.
Sure.
Is this the most impressive feat of all time that you had 1,100 receiving yards with Mike White and Zach Wilson? So basically you just didn't have a quarterback for 2 quarters of the year?
Right.
Like Joe Flacco was also involved in that?
Yeah.
That's got to be up there.
And as a rookie, right? Like some rookies come in and they get dealt a bad hand. You get a change over at quarterback, you can't on the same page. That's a talented team over there. They had a good young running back, too, that got hurt with injury and they lost.
Breece Hall was terrific.
Yeah. So, really excited to have him on and here getting to talk about a guy that comes in as a high-profile draft pick.
Yep.
Delivers, right? Like that. If I'm
in New York.
Right, in New York.
Which is if you have 2 bad weeks, people are going nuts.
That's what I would get excited about if I was a Jets fan, is if you got a guy that comes in. It's like when the Chiefs got like Jamal Charles. And like they couldn't block anybody. Nobody was afraid of the quarterback.
So his entire career.
Yeah, right. They were stacking the box all the time, and he was going out there and he was torching guys anyway. That's when I started to get really excited if I'm a fan of the New York Jets to know that we've got a player that can succeed, even maybe in not the best of circumstances.
Yeah. Now, if you get a quarterback this offseason, you're really in business.
Right.
You've got a better offensive line. You have Breece Hall. You have even some complimentary bags. Zonovan Knight did a good job coming in.
Right, that's right.
They have James Robinson they traded for.
Yeah.
You start looking at them going, okay. Like, and look, the other receivers are certainly not Garrett Wilson, but Elijah Moore, guys like that. Guys, you respect them. And the defense is good.
Sauce Gardner.
Right, defense is really good.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm and that's something I will talk to him about is how is it to be part of that rookie crop where you go, okay, hey, we're moving. We're moving in the right direction here. I think if you are the Jets or you're a Jets fan, you're very excited about the future. You just got to find that big piece. You got to find that quarterback.
Yeah.
That's the thing right now. Of course, it's been missing with the Jets since Joe Namath retired.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see, too, what he got to learn from watching the other pros as a rookie, especially in that division, right? You get to go up against Waddle and Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
I mean, there's some really good.
Somebody on New England.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Somebody on New England. Some really good receivers in that division to stand out. And plus, of course, he came into the league with his teammate, Chris Olave, who did his thing down there in New Orleans with also a similar turbulent quarterback situation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So just a good wide receiver crop that came in. It's going to be really interesting to see how that division plays out. You know, if Tua comes back and is healthy, he was playing great. Miami's dynamic on offense. What changes do they make to make their defense better? The Jets, what are they going to do? Are they going to try to, do they have a first-round pick this year?
Jets?
Yeah.
Yep.
Were
the
they
Jets,
in the 20s?
let me pull it up here. No, they didn't make the playoffs. So the Jets are picking 13th.
Okay. So
I mean, right, a little above middle of the pack there, right? I mean,
within striking that there's a couple of good quarterbacks coming in.
Correct.
So if they wanted to move up to try to, if they don't think C.J. Stroud is going to maybe make it to them, they can get him.
Yeah, I mean, the question's going to be, everybody that I've talked to in the league feels like Stroud and Young are surefire top 5 picks.
Yeah.
The question's going to become, where does Will Levis go out of Kentucky? There's a huge disparity of opinion on people I've talked to with him. Some people think he's a top 5 pick. Some people wouldn't take him in the first round.
Yeah.
So you're talking a huge disparity. And Anthony Richardson, I had a high-level personnel man tell me he has a late second-round grade on him. There's some people who think he's going to be a top 15 pick.
Right.
Would the Jets take him? I mean, look, I've learned one thing with quarterbacks. Teams will overdraft the guy because the need at that position supersedes everything else.
And they fall in love.
That's it. I mean, I was joking with the personnel man. I said second-round grade to me. I said, he's going in the first round. Somebody is going to just say, I don't care.
Right.
We're going to take this guy based on his talent, and understandably so. Would the Jets be that team? I don't know. So my wife is calling me. She's going to have to wait.
Yeah. And I mean, Patrick Mahomes.
Success.
A lot of people, even Patrick Mahomes thought maybe I'll go at the end of the first round, in the 24 or 28 range. And then
he's
he
10.
shot up
and
the draft
Chiefs
board.
traded up 17 spots to get him.
If you go back and read the scouting reports on him, people are like, Ross, second-round pick,
there
third-round pick.
were a lot of them. Also, I was standing right next to him. Somebody from Chicago asked him about what his dad said about the Bears and that they would take him. And he clarified. He said, well, my dad was a little aggressive in that comment. He said, but what happened was the Bears told him, if we take a quarterback, you're our guy. But we don't know if we're going to take a quarterback. So he said, I wasn't offended that they didn't take me, but I was offended, and I'm paraphrasing.
Sure.
Was offended that they took a quarterback, but I wasn't the guy. That caught me off guard.
Got it.
But then he followed up saying, but truth be told, I really wanted to go to Kansas City, so I wasn't upset about it. It worked out. It worked out for him.
And what about our guy Matt Nagy stacking the deck for Mahomes?
He talked about that too.
He talked about
gave him all the answers to the test.
I wonder. I think they asked Andy that. I think he said "son of a gun," or something like that. When they told him that Matt Nagy gave him the answers to the test. I mean, how much of this kind of thing do you think happens in the NFL where you got a scout, you got an offensive guy, and they want coach to see it. I mean, we heard about how Brett Veach, he wasn't the GM at the time.
Right.
It was Dorsey that ultimately had to make the decision about whether or not to take Patrick Mahomes. But Brett Veach was the driving force behind it, and he wanted his guy. And he was harassing everybody who would listen about, look at this guy, Patrick Mahomes.
I think sometimes you're a scout, you're an assistant GM, personnel director, whatever the case may be, you're looking at a guy and saying, this guy could affect my entire career.
Right.
And if it's a quarterback in the first round, Yeah, that look. People don't think about it in this way, but it's truth. You draft a quarterback like that, it is your ass.
Yeah, it sure is.
If you screw that pick up, there's a very good chance, very good, you're out of a job. Like that, you're done, right? And your whole family's got to move, and your school's got your kids got to change schools. Like, but if you're right, I mean, Brett Veach could put down roots for the rest of his life, right? I mean, that ain't going anywhere. So
I think he's in good shape in Kansas City.
Yeah. Apparently Mahomes might succeed him.
Yeah.
Mahomes is looking to take a GM role.
That's right. That's right.
Would you? So we're gonna have Garrett Wilson here coming in 2
Yeah.
seconds. Would you want Mahomes to be the GM in 20 years?
Sure, man.
Or would you be like, what if it goes wrong and then you got that weird scenario?
Like an Elway situation?
Yeah.
I don't think so, man. He's just good at everything. Yeah.
Could you imagine he just keeps kicking people's ass?
You know what though? After what he's done for the franchise, if Patrick Mahomes wants to come in and run it into the ground, that's his right.
That's right.
That's his right.
That's right. I'm happy to let him do it. We are going to welcome in Garrett Wilson here at the New York Jets in just a second, working with Old Spice.
How you doing, Garrett?
Thanks for joining us, man. How you doing?
Thanks for coming by.
Appreciate you having me, man.
For sure. So, first off, what are you doing with Old Spice? Give us a little bit of the details.
Yeah, man. So the thing is with Old Spice, you kind of don't know when you don't smell good. People will tell you when your hair don't look right, or people will tell you when your cleats messed up. But whenever I'm out on the field and someone doesn't smell good, I know it's not me. I know I don't have to worry about it because I'm working with Old Spice.
Yeah.
And Old Spice swagger is 24/7 freshness is what comes with it. So really excited to be working with them, and yeah.
It's great. How many? So which DB that tried to cover you this year needed more Old Spice?
Needed more Old Spice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay away from answering that one.
It was a trap. It was a trap.
All right, so you had a great rookie year with the Jets, over 1,100 yards, despite a little bit of a rotation at quarterback this year. What was the key for you, above all else, going out and having that sustained success? And not just a couple of really big games, but a couple of really big games mixed in with a lot of other really good games, kind of bringing up those stats.
Just simplifying the game, simplifying and for me, just making it what it's always been. Just go out there and make the plays when your number's called. When your ball comes your way, catch the ball. It doesn't matter who throw it, And, that was my mindset and the whole receiver room's mindset, throughout the whole season. Just go out there and produce, and when your number is called, make those plays.
Now, you played in a lot of big games in your career at Ohio State. When you got to the NFL, how did things progress for you from week 1 to week 17? Did the game start to slow down for you?
Yeah.
What surprised you the most about going to the NFL?
The games did start to slow down for me. It wasn't as much as this game's a big game, but it was every game was just, all right, this is a big game because it is a game. And that was the mindset around the facility. We had to, especially during the back half of the season, every game was a playoff game for us.
Right.
And, that kind of could be where you hit your wall and fall off a little bit. But for us, we were fighting for a playoff spot. We knew we had, 1 or 2 games if we win that we'd be in. And it's a long season. I'm not going to lie. It is a long season. And Ohio State, does as good of a job as they can do at getting you ready for that. But there's no real getting ready for that until you go through it. And I felt that, I had to adapt and make some changes to my routine to be able to keep it up through all 17 weeks. But yeah, man, like you said, it's a lot. It's a lot to try and stack it every week, and I feel like we obviously we didn't finish the way we wanted to, but we did a good job with it.
You guys had a hell of a rookie class this year. I mean, between yourself, Sauce, Brees, obviously, unfortunately, had the torn ACL, but was playing great before he got hurt. Yeah. Zonovan coming in toward the end of the year, playing well in his stead. What was it like being part of that crop? And in a city like New York where there's a lot of pressure. I mean, if you guys have a couple of bad games, everybody wants to know what's wrong and what's going to get fixed. What was it like being part of that young group?
It was really amazing. It's not often you see something like that, and it's not often, personally, I came in with 3 first-round picks, or I was one of 3, and it takes the pressure off yourself. I can just go out there and play ball just because, everyone's going through this thing with me. I can talk to Sauce, I can talk to Jermaine, their first-round picks. They know what the pressure feels like, and the fact that I could bounce my thoughts off of them and stuff like that, took some of the pressure off my own shoulders.
What was it like running routes with Sauce in camp and then throughout the year, and then being on his side and watching from the sideline? Obviously a great player, had a tremendous rookie season. If you were running routes against him in practice, you feel like you get the better of him throughout most of the practice, or you think he's got you a little bit? This past season,
he got the better of me, I would say, on most reps. And then once the season hits, you're not doing as much, good on good.
Sure.
But, preseason, preseason, he was on it. I ain't gonna lie, he was on it. And you know, when I saw the other receivers going through what I went through in OTAs and in minicamp, it made me feel better about it. And the thing is I didn't realize, you know, that he was gonna come in and be one of the best corners in the league. You know, so for me, it messed with my confidence initially because I was like, okay, you know, this dude hard to get open on. And then by the time the season came around and he was the best corner I had played against all year, you know, it was like, okay, this is what I need. You know, this is iron sharpens iron. You know, get the best look you can get during the practice week so that the games are a little bit, you know, watered down or a little easier. And you know, I felt that with going against Sauce. You know, he's a crazy talent, really impressive.
Now, you came into the league with a really talented wide receiver class, including your teammate, Chris Olave, who was down there in New Orleans. During the season, did you guys get a chance to talk at all, or did you get a chance to check out some of his games as he was progressing through his rookie year as well?
No, for sure. We made sure you stayed in touch throughout the whole season, and then got lucky. We would usually play around the same time, but I got lucky they were playing his game while he was in London against the Vikings.
Yep.
At the same time as we were warming up. And they had it on the big screen, and he had a great game that game. I remember seeing him make a few big plays, and it's no surprise, man. It's a great player, great person. Goes about all his business the right way, and to see him, you know, succeeding at that level doesn't surprise me at all. You know, knowing what we had in college and the way he was in college. Were
you guys trying to one-up each other a little bit, you know, see which Ohio State receiver could have the best rookie year?
I'm sure. You know, I'm sure. Just the competitive side to us was, you know, trying to compete with each other, but the reality of it is we both just wanted to see each other succeed, and you know, knowing that we both have different scenarios going on and just making the most of it. That was all.
Yeah. This season, obviously, you guys had a really good start. Didn't end the way you wanted to. Now there's been a lot of talk about Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers. Maybe they're the next Jets quarterback, and who knows what's going to happen. But you're the receiver. When you hear that, what do you think if Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers were to eventually come to the Jets?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be excited. You know, I'd be really excited because, you know, those are two veterans that I've been watching since I was a kid play ball, and I would know what they were bringing to the table, and it would make us a better team. You know, it would make us a better team. And, you know, any chance you got or any time you got the chance to add a player like Aaron Rodgers or like a first ballot Hall of Famer, and, you know, one of the best players I've watched ever. You know, you want that. You know, you want that. You want the opportunity to learn from someone like that and catch passes from him. You know, so selfishly, I want that. You know, being a receiver, I want that, and for the team as well. You know, I feel like it would put us in a good spot.
If they don't go the veteran route, there is a former teammate of yours coming into the NFL draft, C.J. Stroud. How would you like to catch balls from him again?
Oh, I mean, C.J.'s a man, and you know, I'm excited to see what he does in the NFL. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the best quarterbacks I've played with in my life, and yeah, man, just another person that goes about his business the right way and knows what it takes to succeed and really pushes that every day. And like I said, I'm excited to see him go through this draft process and where he'll end up.
What are your goals for next season, or have you even established any goals for next season? And obviously, and it's just so far away at this juncture, but you had 1,100 yards this previous year. You played very well. You were consistent. What are some of the things, if you've thought about it, that you'd like to do next year, just on an individual standpoint?
I know this offseason I want to build up my body. So you know, this is a long season, 17 weeks, and the dudes at that level are hitting. They're big. They're grown men, you know, flying around hitting. And for me, you know, 10, 15 pounds would be beneficial just to help me all around my game. You know, getting in and out of cuts faster, through contact, off the line against, you know, bigger DBs. Those are things that, you know, I wanted to work on this offseason. Hopefully they carry into next year, and we'll see where I'm at. You know, as long as we get to the playoffs, I feel like I'm going to be in a good spot.
Outside of Sauce, who's the best corner you faced this year?
Surtain, for sure. Pat Surtain up in Denver. Real good player.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you need to put on some weight, we've got some good strategies for that. Might not be the kind of weight that you want to put on.
It's a different weight.
Yeah. But
I might tap in.
Yeah, right.
Take you up on that.
Yeah. Call us when you retire. We want to have you have a nice long season. Before we get out of here, obviously we got to ask you, who do you got on Sunday? Who do you think's going to pull this one out?
Yeah, I got Kansas City. That quarterback they got is special, man, and you know, it's hard to go against him, hard to choose against him. I got Kansas City.
All right, hey, Garrett Wilson, working with Old Spice, great rookie season with the New York Jets. Thanks so much for stopping by. Really appreciate it.
Y'all.
Thanks for coming by.
For
sure.
Been awesome.
Take care.
Yes,
all right, that was Garrett Wilson with Old Spice Swagger. Gives you the confidence. Thank you, man. It gives you the confidence to perform under the spotlight with 24/7 long-lasting freshness. I'm an Old Spice guy. Do you use any of the body wash?
Yeah.
It's good stuff, man.
It is good stuff.
It really is.
It allows me to stay married.
That's right. That's
my
important.
wife doesn't have to go, who the hell's in the house?
That's how you counteract the pizza weight.
Yes.
Like when Verderame and I put on our off-season
when I go
weight,
home, they're going to roll me off the plane.
That's right.
And
it's
then,
only Old Spice. It's
by the end of it, they have to use me to counterbalance the plane. They're like, listen, we're going to put all the luggage on the left, Verderame's on the right, and then they roll me out at the gate at O'Hare.
Yeah.
And at that point, I've got to have the WD-40 to grease myself into the door jams of the car.
Yep.
I come home, say, hey, honey, I'm going to take a shower, throw on the entire thing of Old Spice, and at least it's not a complete disgrace at that point.
That was a great interview. It's really cool.
Thoughtful.
Thoughtful guy. You don't always get to get these guys, big stars like Garrett Wilson. I mean, you don't
Super
always
humble.
Sat
down,
very
talked.
humble. You don't get to get them, and you don't get to get them. It's interesting to talk to these guys end of the first year, right? End of the rookie year. What did you learn, before everything becomes old hat?
Yes.
I think that was really insightful.
And he's picking the Chiefs?
Yeah, and he picked the Chiefs.
There you go.
And I think he gets it, right? It's about the quarterback. It's that guy. It's that dude, Patrick Mahomes. Whatever you think about the team's roster construction, top to bottom.
That's kind of the funny part of this. Like, everybody keeps talking about how this game's so even. I'm like, well, if that's the case, then take the quarterback.
Right, yeah. And the coach.
By the way, we've done every week. We've talked about this. I've said that all week, all year. If you are conflicted on who to take in a game, you take the quarterback.
Yep.
And if you're still conflicted, you take the coach.
Yeah.
In this case, you take the Chiefs in both cases. To me, that's why, of all the things we talked about, in the end, if I am conflicted, well, they have Mahomes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm taking.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We just hit the 2-hour mark?
2 hours.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I think that's a good day's work for us here.
Get a burger.
Yeah, listen, there are still over 300 of you watching. If you can hit that like button on the way out, and again, if you want to support the Arrowhead Addict podcast, check out arrowheadaddict.com/bets. Click on one of those links. Sign up with one of our betting affiliates who you've not bet with before, and keep us in business. By the way, we're remiss. We didn't shout out our sponsors, KC Beer, Kansas City Beer Company. If you are in Kansas City and you are wanting to celebrate Super Bowl week, get your ass down to the Kansas City KC Beer Co. Beer Hall. Get an Arrow Red Lager, our personal beer that we brewed with those guys a few weeks ago. It's fantastic, and they've got 6-packs available again in the beer hall that you can buy and take home and watch the Chiefs whoop up on the Philadelphia Eagles this Sunday. Guys, we are going to be back tomorrow. It's Mountain Time. Yeah, that helps. That helps. We're going to be kicking off around 1 Mountain, so 2 Central Time. 2 Central Time tomorrow, 2:15.
Guests for days.
Joe Montana. We've got other great guests. Don't worry about it. 2:15. Set an alarm on your phone. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on alerts. 2:15. Joe Montana right here on the Arrowhead Addict podcast. You're going to watch us fanboy out.
In a way that's aggressive.
In a way, yeah. It's going to be weird, and hopefully Joe doesn't call the FBI on us. It's going to be awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much to all of our guests today. Thank you to Nick Lowery. Thank you to Garrett Wilson for stopping by. Matt Connor. This was absolutely awesome. Great day here at Radio Row. Day 2. Be on the lookout for more Chiefs coverage at arrowheadaddict.com and, of course, on the Arrowhead Addict YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody, for the comments, for your questions, for your likes, and we will see you tomorrow with Joe Montana. For Matt Verderame, my name is Patrick Allen. We'll see you tomorrow, but until then, as always, go Chiefs.